to make it stop. Didn't really feel like giving you the chance to make it up. You asked me what's the problem, to be honest, it was you. That's the truth. It really was such a bad plan, 'cause I really think you wanted me to stay. Up time it was, figured out how to leave, and I'm glad because now I know how it goes. Looking back, what a messed up time it was, figured out how to leave, and I'm glad because now I know. It really was such a bad plan, 'cause I really think you wanted me to stay.
Hi, SMITE fans, and welcome to the SMITE Content Creator Cup North American Qualifiers here on day number 1 on this lovely Saturday. It's J-Mac, it's Mifflin joining me here on the desk as we get ready to kick off a big weekend for the North American crew. We are sending 3 teams to the LAN in just a few weeks of the 4 that are here, which means that 1 team this weekend will not be making it to that LAN qualifier. Instead, will be, well, sitting out on this one. The other 3 will get to join the EMEA team and I-Davy that already qualified last weekend. So let's take a look at what those 4 teams and what the format of this weekend is going to be. It is 2 days of single elimination. It'll be all best of 3 matches, 2 of them today, 2 of them tomorrow. We'll start off with PEso versus Khastik for their teams, and then the second match will be Rudy and Captain Twig facing off. The winners of those will play in the grand finals tomorrow. Both of those teams will be guaranteed to go to the LAN. They'll be playing for a seeding match then. But the losers of these matches today will be placing in the bronze match. The winner of that one goes to LAN. The loser of that one is knocked out of the SCCC, which means we will have 3 teams here from North America joining our 1 EMEA team. Again, that was I-Davy's team who qualified last week from that region. We'll be playing in the LAN just in a few weeks. We can talk a little bit about the pricing of this one, because if you're just now tuning in, well, what are these guys playing for? Well, the first and foremost, they're playing for a charity donation to the charity of their choosing. They'll also be invited to play out here, as mentioned, on LAN here in our esports headquarters in Alpharetta, Georgia. Look at a behind-the-scenes tour of the Titan Forge studios, as well as access to the SMITE 2 development and additional loot and goodies, whatever those may include, to be determined for maybe whenever they pop by here. You never know what we'll have sitting around the studio for those guys to get their hands on, maybe kind of grab around. But being able to come out here, play at the event, get a little bit of behind the scenes for the SMITE 2, which is what a lot of people are really anticipating and really hoping to get a little bit more insight towards as well. Mifflin, should be an exciting weekend.
And as always, I'm going to break it down in the simplest, most haterist terms possible. We're not having any eliminations today. A win today, though, guarantees you a LAN spot. But we're not sending anyone home. That's tomorrow. So if you're here just to hate and see who's going to have a bad time, tune in tomorrow, but also watch today.
Yeah, make sure you watch today so you can know which 2 teams are guaranteed to the LAN. And we can go ahead and take a look at the schedule real quick. As mentioned, we'll be starting out with PEso and Khastik for their rosters facing off. And then our second matchup will be Rudy and Captain Twig's teams facing off again. Best of 3 for both of these. As mentioned, winners today will play in the grand finals tomorrow. First set of the day at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I believe is what we're at right now.
EDT.
I think we're in EDT, or we probably have been for a while, actually. It's usually like spring and then falls when those do this kind of swap around. But I always have to remind myself it's EDT or ESC, so I usually just standard default to say ET, so it's a little bit easier. And then
Phone home.
After that one will be the losers match at the bronze match to see which team does get eliminated. So if you want to watch only an elimination game, see who's gonna cry they don't get to go to the LAN, that's the second match tomorrow. But still plenty of exciting SMITE between now and then, so make sure you're tuning in now and all the way up through till tomorrow as well. And I'm going to just give a little shout out as well. Make sure you're watching the captain streams if they're streaming, or just tune in with the captains at any point this weekend. We have exclusive drops for all of the captains on their Twitch channel, so if you catch them streaming, go hang out over there, get some cool drops as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I know that there's been a lot of rumbling about who's going to make it. North America, of course, only one team being eliminated. It feels like a tournament where everyone's emotions probably going to be running a little bit high. I know personally I'd be thinking, man, it's not going to be me. I'm not going out like a buster. I'm not going to be the one team that doesn't get to go. So a lot of pride riding on this one.
And unlike the EMEA matchups last week, which we're playing on the 11.5 update, we're now on 11.6,
Ooh.
also known as the Summer Rewind patch, which, if you don't know what that means, 9.5 reverted HP and protections for not just gods, but also throughout the map as well. So a completely new style of play here and a completely new meta developing from last week into this week, and then we'll have some time to adjust before the LAN a little bit later down the road. So a lot of riding out here for these North Americans. They've only had a few days to play on this new patch, Mifflin, and let me tell you, just from the games that you've played, the games that I've played, this feels like a whole new version of Smite we're playing with right now.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot more kill focus, a lot more action. I'd argue there's a bit more comeback mechanic as well. Felt like on previous patches when TTK was much longer, if you fell behind, it was, well, it's going to take me 4 ability rotations to kill this guy. He only needs 2. Nowadays, everybody dies in 1. So there are ways to fight back in even with the deficit. That is, I think, making for really good, entertaining Smite games. I'm a massive 9.5 fan, but you can call me like a hi-rez shill if you want. That's fine too.
We've been seeing a few different gods that have also kind of popped up. I know that Chang'e's been on the topic recently for a lot of players, whether that be in the Soul lane, in the mid lane. Medusa over in the duo lane has really risen into prominence as well. There are just so many gods now that were right at the cusp of maybe being good or maybe have kind of been slept on a little bit to now, because of everybody's HP going down, everybody's protections, now they're just kind of rising up there, and it's making it so oppressive in their various lanes. So I imagine a big shift in the picks and bans from what we saw last week, where it's a lot of the standards. You know, you get your Guardians out there, your Cthulhu's, your Athenas, things like that. We'll probably be seeing a lot more of those heavy-hitting mages and assassins really kind of knocked out early in this time.
Yeah, I think also we could just see a lot more flavor picks. When everybody does more damage, when everybody's more killable, you don't necessarily need to play the absolute cream of the crop. Is Ra top of the meta right now? I don't know. Couldn't exactly say, but I can tell you he will two-shot you if he hits his beam and his ultimate. You're probably just dead. Gods like Scylla have seen an increase in viability because of the changes to lane minions and jungle camps. Now they're all just a little bit weaker. One of Scylla's primary weaknesses in 11.5 and 11.4 and everything since 9.5 was her inability to clear the wave. Not exactly there anymore. Now in the late game, Sick'em Crush, you've got your kill.
And not just that, I actually like the shout to Syl there, because she's a god who, before the 9.5 revert kind of came to light, she was also a god that received another buff to her PvE style of play, getting additional, even further additional damage, I should say, to those minions. Now coupling that along with the changes, she's essentially power clearing wave faster than almost any other mage out there right now. So we probably should be seeing a lot of Scylla. I've seen some Agni clips where his bombs late game are doing upwards of 900 to 1,000. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of sparks flying, and in an already pretty kill-heavy region in North America, especially what we saw from the qualifying stages, from the group stages, probably going to be seeing even more kills pop out this time.
I think it can go one of two ways. Either we're going to see way more kills, which is what I want to see, it's what you want to see, it's what the fans probably want to see, or we're going to see guys like, oh, I don't really have a lot of experience on this patch. Maybe I hang out in my tower for a little bit. I don't want to be the reason my team falls behind, so I'm just going to play passively until the laning phase ends. I don't want to see that. I will accuse you of cowardice, and there's nothing you can do about it while you're playing your games. Players in current tournament, talking to you.
As mentioned, it will be PEso and Khastik, the team captains, for their squads facing off here in our first one. Best of 3 for this match, best of 3 for all matchups this weekend, and this one trying to determine which one is going to go to the grand finals and which one will go to an elimination bronze match tomorrow afternoon. So getting your best foot forward today can essentially guarantee you some safety and that spot to LAN. So a win today, you go to LAN. A lose today, you have to fight for that spot. We are ready, though, for picks and bans. Game number 1. We can go ahead and get ready to jump in that one here again between PEso and Khastik. And again, I think we're probably really excited to see more than anything what the new meta kind of starts to develop here, because we are only a few days in, and usually it takes a few days to kind of see, all right, what's really good, maybe not what's not so good. Usually it takes about a week or so to really start solidifying what a meta is. So we're going to get to see maybe some of those early lights, and this is not one that I was expecting to see immediately on the ban column. Eshell taken away by PEso's squad.
Makes sense to me, though. Eshell was one of the premier poke gods, even on previous patches. Poke gods aren't just poke gods anymore. They'll kill you, so anyone who's dealing constant damage from long range, pretty difficult to deal with. I've seen a lot of Thoth in my ranked games as well, so Eshell doesn't necessarily surprise me too much as well. You get a little bit additional value from sustain because everybody's HP pools are smaller, and the sustain hasn't really taken a hit. Those 100 heals that we saw in 11.6, you know, maybe it didn't really matter as much when you're like level 8 with 1200 HP. When you're level 8 with 800 HP and 100 heals, pretty significant.
Along with that, Medusa taken away by Team Khastik. So it goes back over to PEso to see what they're going to go ahead and ban away for their next rounds of picks. Pretty much as mentioned, any kind of poke style of mage, maybe quick burst sustain style of ones. Chang'e, I imagine, is one that maybe Team Khastik want to ban away with how prevalent that god has been in the ranked and the casual scene. Camazot's being banned away. Strong amount of poke, good bit of sustain. And then Lancelot. Maybe no real surprise there. Lancelot was already kind of rising up just before this patch came out, but now that everybody's a little bit easier to kill, Lancelot just as good and just as strong as well.
Yeah, for a full year and a half, it was, man, Lancelot's really good at doing 90% of someone's HP, and it just needs someone else to do that last 10%. Well, there's, what was it, a 40% overall HD reduction? I'm thinking he's going to be just fine at finding kills on his own. Junglers, for the most part, are just going to be able to act as solo agents more consistently throughout. So expecting a lot of impact play from junglers. And I don't just say that because it's my favorite role and I've been playing it for 13 some odd years now. I say it because it's true. Jungles are finally, once again, the best role in the game. I'm so happy to report that.
Yeah, so we'll kind of maybe get a nice little light as to what the jungle meta is going to be around this one. Camazot's and Lancelot already mentioned taken away, as well as Yemoja, a god that has kind of fallen a little bit out of favor, maybe as once the competitive scene kind of faded away from the SPL. We haven't really seen as much Yemoja even in these types of matchups, so seeing that one eat a little bit of a ban here. And then a Fafnir, maybe a very interesting first pick, I would say. Now, Fafnir, fine, strong, no real complaints, but as a top pick, maybe seems a little out of place, Smith.
I mean, it's just a safe Guardian. There's no exactly, like, really punishing counter matchups. Things like Ares, I think, does scare Fafnir a good deal, but in a meta where you can get aggressive and invades are looking a little bit better for supports, especially because, again, those jungle camps are lower HP now. I believe first rotation or second rotation of Green Buff has about 480 HP. These aggressive Guardians can look for those solo invades. If you go all the way back to early Season 9 SPL metas, it was a lot of, I'm going to be the secondary jungler, and I think Fafnir fills that role relatively well.
Well, now it goes over to Team Khastik to see what their first two picks are going to be to answer to this Fafnir, or maybe just to kind of get a little bit of comfort on their side of the map. As mentioned, Chang'e and Yemoja were the last two bans taken away, so the field is now open. Tons of poke mages available for the mid lane, tons of great assassins, carries that can kind of pop their way back in. Charybdis is one that was already starting to rise up after her buffs that came in, I believe it was 11.5. 11.6, and now Sylvanas jumping up there. Another one of those sustain gods, as you mentioned, maybe not quite as valuable with the amount of heals you get from those wisps before, but now with everybody's HP going back down, and in all honesty, I think a slept-on pick. Once you hit level 15 on Sylvanas, if you have enough CDR, you can just spam rotations of his abilities with the amount of cooldown he gets from his passive.
Plus, his pool's seen some changes recently, so it's a little bit easier to land. You can freehand it without going for the root first. The ultimate gets a little bit additional value. If everybody's squishier, now they're going to die before they touch the ground, whereas previously they would be able to escape or reposition relatively easily. So I think Sylvanas in a pretty good spot right now, and it's a high-pressure dual lane top to bottom. It's going to be really difficult to stop Sylvanas and Charybdis from pushing waves in your tower. In a meta where junglers have been really present in the dual lane, Charybdis very safe, has multiple forms of CC immunity, has multiple ways to just walk away from engagements. Going to make it really annoying for Team PEso to make anything happen in that dual lane.
Well, there's the Scylla that you were mentioning a little bit earlier, along with a Cucullin for the solo lane. One god that we've seen, or at least I've been hearing a little bit of rumblings about for the solo lane. Pretty heavy amount of poke, just the ability to constantly stand inside that wave. That Vent Anger getting a lot of value now with those HPs being a little bit lower. So now seeing him pop up into the solo lane along with the Fafnir Scylla. And then the answer back is Thor. Now this is a god, when I heard HPs are going down, prots are going down, where's the Thor one taps? You know, he's going to dunk in from the sky, toss hammer, doesn't need the rest of his kit. You imagine we maybe see a little bit of that here from Team Khastik with this pick.
You don't even have to do the full ability rotation anymore. Before it was dunk, auto attack, hammer, auto attack, wall, auto attack, 3. Now it's like dunk, hammer, wall, he's dead. And it feels so much better. There was a brief meta that we were seeing in 11.5 and 11.4 where global junglers were still pretty good, but you were generally just going for the Thanatos because he had so much more damage. Thor is going to be just fine so far as damage is concerned. It brings a little bit more I suppose, utility to the team. Just having a wall available means that you can cut off these jungle paths. The poke potential from the hammer being so safe as well is really good. But the flexibility of Thor, I think, is something we have to hit on. That could be Thor jungle, could also be Thor solo, and either way, it's going to look good.
Well, we'll see where it lands. Hovering a Fenrir there for a moment. Now currently hovering Hercules, so Team Khastik kind of deciding what they want to do. Maybe is this Thor going to be going jungle? Is this Thor going to be going solo? To be determined. They're just kind of bouncing around the picks right now. Yu Huang is not one that immediately came to mind, but is one of those gods that we used to talk about on his release being a really strong early poke god. Tap with the 2, hit him with that first ability as well. You're doing upwards 30-40% of their health just for immediate poke on such a short cooldown. Now with those lower thresholds, really strong early game god myth.
Yeah, and has great scaling to late game. Every mage is good at the late game, by the way. If you're 6-slotted and you're playing someone from the mage tab, you're going to do a lot of damage. You're going to one-shot the majority of people coming your way. So Yu Huang solidly within that domain. Also very safe, having the Dragon Flight as well as CC immunity in the ultimate means that any initiation from a Fafnir, largely single target, can probably just be ignored. Kakulin coming in with a blink ultimate, good luck locking down Yu Huang with that, unless he's already used everything else. So this makes sense to me, this hover of Robin from SK PEso. If you're really concerned about shutting down that backline and you've only got Kakulin and Fafnir, I don't think that's enough to punish Yu Huang. Those two together can probably force out all of his resources. You want someone else to get him active in the enemy backline. Robin is exactly that. He can do it relatively safely. Generally, we talk about, it's a massive damage trade-off. You're taking Robin in the jungle. He doesn't do nearly as much as some of these other standard assassins. Who cares? He's going to kill you just like everybody else. He just doesn't overkill you like a Thor or a Thanatos or a Rat would.
No, that just press 2 immunity from all of that burst damage that can pop out, especially with this Thor Yu Huang combo. We get a mid 2v2 in the early game. If we see maybe wall hammer from Thor for those first 2 levels, coupled with Yu Huang's 2-1 combo, anybody caught in that is going to be essentially dead at that point. But you alluded a little bit to earlier, maybe we don't even see this Thor go over into the jungle. Maybe we see him pop over in the solo lane. We'll have to see maybe where this Fenrir lands, at least on the side of Team Khastik. And then kind of going along with the opposite side there on the Robin, Chiron, the final lock-in. So sticking towards more kind of the ability style of Hunter. We've been seeing a lot more Chirons build towards that red style of tree, get the blue stone, just go for those constant pokes, as opposed to more of the traditional Hunter route, which I imagine we're going to see a lot more from on this Charybdis.
I mean, 1-2 from Chiron, if he's gone the full ability build, is going to do upwards of 60 to 70% of even more like bruiser-style targets. I am surprised to see an ability hunter locked in, though. It felt like crit hunters really are the cream of the crop right now. There's still decent itemization options to stop them, but it's a lot of DPS. It's a lot of DPS early on, and it opens up the door towards objectives. I'm assuming Team SK PEso is probably going to be playing largely around the PvP in the mid-game. I don't really love how their objective play looks, but on the other hand, Team Khastik doesn't exactly have the greatest confirmation on map. You can go for that dueling dragons. It's going to be able to challenge I'm a monster, but if both mages are there, you should trust that that Scylla is going to outconfirm. So I'm thinking there's going to be a lot more action on field. Let's get our kills, then do objectives, rather than let's dance the Gold Fury, let's dance the Pyromancer and see what happens.
Now, I don't have immediate access to all the brackets from the qualifying stage for these teams, but at least as of from when group stage started, this is the first time that these two teams have faced off against each other because they've been in opposite groups. So now, hopefully for Team SK PEso and Khastik, done a little bit of studying, see what their opposition is like, because they're going to need all of that here in this matchup to see which of these two is going to get themselves a guaranteed land spot and which one is going to have to fight for that one. Remember, best of 3 for today, best of 3 for tomorrow. 4 teams in, 1 team will be out by the end of day tomorrow. So get your best foot forward today to make sure that you can get yourself a guaranteed spot at that LAN in just a few weeks. Team SK PEso with a pretty strong roster for themselves. Fafnir, Kakulin, Scylla, Robin, Chiron. Opposite side for Khastik, Charybdis, Sylvanas, Thor, Yu Huang, and Fenrir. And seeing the Fenrir kind of locked in here for this one, do you imagine now with Fen and Thor on the same team, Myth, that this is going to be Fen jungle, or do you think that maybe Fen goes over into the solo lane?
Given the choice, I'd say Thor solo just by pure power rankings. I think that would be the best look for this draft. But metagaming it a little bit, I did see a Hercules hover, and then that transferred into a Fenrir makes me think it's probably a little bit more likely that we're looking at Fenrir solo. Regardless, I think both would have a decent time fighting into the Kakulin. You don't exactly worry for Fenrir's life. Very, very safe, multiple leaps, CC immunity, so even with rotations from the enemy jungler, you don't really concern yourself with him falling down throughout the early. And that seems to be the MO of Team Khastik top to bottom. I'm looking at Yu Huang in mid, and I'm thinking, wow, that's miserable to gank. I don't want to show up there. He could just remove himself from the playfield or CC immune with his ultimate. Then I look at the duo lane, I'm like, oh, Charybdis, so she could just remove herself from the playfield or CC immune ultimate. So very, very safe laners in mid and duo for Team Khastik. Could make it pretty difficult for this Robin to choose where he wants to go. Fortunately for Robin, he has the option of going in the tower because of that overhead kick.
Well, we'll have to see how Game 1 shakes out. It's Team PEso versus Team Khastik for our game number 1 of this best of 3 on Saturday here in the SCCC NA Qualifiers. It's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug here to bring the action for that first game. And it will be Rundus taking the Fenrir over to the solo lane. Ratsquid going to be the one piloting that Thor jungle for the side of Team Khastik. Looks like Khastik himself is going to be taking the coach spot this time. He's got a pretty powerful roster around him, though, with Rundus, Ratsquid, XD001, Malachi, and Grave rounding that one out. This is a dangerous force for Team PEso to have to go into in their first matchup of this event.
Yeah, but those guys have always got plenty of energy to play with. Saw every individual member of PEso's team in the chat just earlier today, gassing themselves up and getting ready for this one. So I imagine we'll see a good deal of action. It's generally around that level 3 point where there's going to be a lot of killing on board. If I'm going to go off just pure data and rank data, it's generally that mid laner that dies first too. So I'll be keeping my eyes there. Jungler is going to dictate the action pretty heavily this time around. Looking at jungle build options, seems like Sun Prodigy is trying to outpace Ratsquid on the other side, going for that Eye of the Jungle early on. Eye of the Jungle, of course, receiving a buff recently. Gets a little bit additional movement speed. I believe 3% for this Robin. So should be able to lead Ratsquid around the map.
Do see a little bit of poking more towards the soul lane. Haven't quite seen that action in mid. Dual lane's also being pressured out heavy, at least on Team PEso's side of the map, sitting under that tier 1 tower consistently. But against a Charybdis Sylvanas, there are very few dual lanes that can really stand up to that similar level of clear. So I imagine this will see PEso and Drunk Diplomat for quite some time until those first few levels really start to come through. I don't think you want to tank too many more of those shots. They hit the same amount of damage, but that damage is a lot more relevant now.
It's just so different. You know, one patch ago, an ADC would land an auto attack on an ADC and the HP bar doesn't move. Now it's removing an entire chunk of it per auto. Looks so good. There's so much punish potential over in the duo lane. You can see that pressure of Sylvanas and Charybdis already being leveraged. They haven't been allowed to leave their tower just yet. Nearly would have lost his beads. Drunk Diplomat has to play safe because look at that damage again.
Yeah, just keeps getting hit by that root. And that slow from Grave, followed up by the autos afterward, just doing so much damage. Drunk Diplomat. It is going to be a difficult duo lane. One that you might want to send the Robin over just to kind of bail them out, give them a little bit of leeway on that side of the map. But already had to see Mando going back onto the Scylla. Picks up tier 2 Pen, which has been the start that we've been seeing more often from mid laners, at least in the games I've been playing, has been a lot of flat pen rush, go for that Spear of Desolation or Divine Ruin right away, just to get that quick damage and that quick flat pen.
Yeah, Mando's going to be clearing waves relatively shortly. 3 points in Crush, and you're essentially clearing the entire wave, so especially with this faster build that you've already highlighted. I imagine Mando going to be in just a fine position here. Speaking of Robin, rotation nearby. Target's got to be Malachi, but I'm not sure he's going to have the damage.
Oh, root is good. Stun, not quite there from PEso. Good damage from the Cairo. The
pull
pull under the tower is going to get some good damage onto PEso, but you look at what Grave is doing this entire time. He's just pumping damage in, but Sun Prod never left, and just Grave stands his ground and ends up being his own burial ground at that point. It's first blood for PEso's team.
Yeah, Grave chose the wrong target. Intoxicated by his own power, said, you know, I could just kill the Fafnir, but I'm doing a lot of damage, so I'm going to focus a carry. Instead, loses his own life and his purple buff. And Malachi on defense, he's going to lose his life too. That is a massive fumble. Fight was won. Malachi pulls PEso into the tower. That's it. That's all it should have been. Instead, Grave stays just outside that tower range, trading autos with a Robin. Here's the thing about Robin, by the way. He gets an HP shield every time he lands a certain amount of auto attacks. Just wins out on the engagement and the timing of it, too, taking those buffs. That is tough stuff for the duo lane that had been dominating for the first 3.5 minutes up until that point. It was 100% going the way of Team Khastik, then one good rotation. That's all it takes to turn things around.
Now with those 2 kills, about 1,000 gold up for PEso's team, maybe even a little more than that. We did see a small answer from Ratsquid, went back, stole away the speed buff from SunProd, at least the right side speed buff, but there's still an extra one there for SunProdigy to be able to pick up for himself. Keeps the 2 of them just a little bit even. SunProdigy giving out just a little bit ahead on that one because of the kill and the assist on the left side being a little bit more valuable. One thing I'll be keeping eyes on as well throughout this game, Mifflin, is going to be those shaman camps. Now there's a slightly new mechanic to them, being able to upgrade them, not just getting a single mask, but being able to upgrade them up to a tier 3, and the ability to even steal them away from your opponent to see if you can maybe deny some of those shaman camps from being upgraded, or in some of the games that I've already seen throughout the week, denying an entire shaman camp to a team.
You have to wait for a full rotation of camps. So if you lose your blue, you just got to wait for 5 more before you can grab a blue, get additional CDR. So we'll generally see junglers try and prioritize the highest value totems, go for those steals. Yellow totem in particular, I think, just incredibly powerful having that penetration on it. That is going to be the next rotation. Wonder if we see either side try and get active on map, take that one away. Instead, it's going to be the Bull Demon going down and goes over towards SunProdigy on Team PEso, given vision of every single ward on the map. But let me scan the map real quick. No wards to collect means there's not a whole lot of gold to collect either.
Yeah, I think it was just that one right there that PEso picked up. I've been noticing that with teams recently with this Bull Demon interaction, with this one being added to the game a couple patches back. In your casual games, not a whole lot of people are probably warding the first 10-15 minutes anyways, because you just want to buy your items, get your damage, do whatever you want to do. But in these more competitive style games, usually the teams that don't think that they have the pressure to go for Bull Demon aren't usually dropping too many wards, or they're waiting until right after that Bull Demon is dropped down and the kind of the buff fades away before they start putting those wards. The teams that are able to really go for those kinds of rushes on that objective, been seeing a lot of very aggressive wards from them, usually deep into like the blue buff, the right up by that shaman camp, even towards purple buff as well, just to really get that deep vision on the map.
Speaking of, purple buff ward dropped by Ratsquid as he locks eyes with SunProdigy in the jungle. Both considering a rotation over towards that duo lane. It would be easier now for Ratsquid to get involved, has that ultimate available. Could go straight through the Gold Fury camp. Instead, goes straight through mid. Makes short work of Mando. Does lose out on the beads. Holds on to the ultimate, but his life forfeit nonetheless. And Scylla going to pay the iron price. That's just how quick the damage can happen. It's not often. Doug's not going to catch those, right? But 9-5, things are happening pretty fast.
Oh, might be another one. Double tap doesn't hit. The bite from the Ragnarok doesn't, and Super Death hanging a 2v1 under his tower. Kills Rundus. Maybe a little consolation prize for Ratsquid for losing out on one player. Will go and manage to steal away that yellow shaman camp. So the extra pen not going to be available to PEso squad for a little bit of time, but maybe not too concerned. Just get a little bit more poke throughout there, and especially for your solo laner, getting a nice little kill.
Not only is it stolen away, but they confirmed their own, so upgraded penetration, flat pen, available on the camps for Team Khastik. Means they're playing with a lot more damage right now. The more flat pen you can stack up this early in the game, you're essentially looking at true damage on your abilities.
Potential fighting there from some prod. They do get some damage. That's half HP on Malachi, and a quick bounce out, but now the Amo Monster turn around, throws it out, misses the damage on Ratsquid, but the Dueling Dragons will take down one while SunProd takes out the enemy jungler. Now in a 2v1 because Grave has rotated over. SunProd's not expecting a rotation from the ADC at this stage or the solo laner. All lanes collapse towards one, and it's a duel in mid that ends up going 2 for Team Khastik.
Yeah, here's the thing about how I brought my entire team. I did. Team PEso gonna fall down there. SunProdigy tries to dig in his heels, make XD pay for his sins. Instead, able to turn things around. And again, that's the fight extension capacity of a Yu Huang, the ability to just remove yourself from the playfield. Makes it so difficult for gods like Robin to actually knock him down. You need a few more people nearby if you want to win out on some of those engagements. And a good rotation from Grave as well, just to make sure that that goes his way. Slight itemization difference. And this is something we've seen a whole lot since the revert. Aussie in first slot, just getting as much power and flat pen available to you. A little bit of lifesteal too. He's doing a lot of damage right now, and it puts Drunk Diplomat now in a position that he really will never want to trade autos with Grave.
Dash through. Gets the knockback on Grave. Damage in mid is good. Mando and XD both lose their lives, so the junglers claim a kill in mid for each other. Sunprod still going in. Touches with the Mystic Rush, but gets the Aegis from Ratsgood, who misses the hammer toss after. And what all started with fighting in the dual lane gets 2 kills over in mid, maybe one more. Mark's not there for Drunk Diplomat to get the kill on Grave. Ultimate down as well. No bloodshed in dual lane. Opposite side for mid, though. That was 1 life each for the teams.
It just seems like Sun Prodigy's rotations over towards the dual lane have been perfectly timed to take away these camps every single time. Another rotation of green goes his way. Fight forces back the dual lane of Team Khastik and PEso. And the boys looking real good now. Timing of it with the Meteor, giving that over to them, means that PEso is going to have a lot of poke potential on his own now. I am loving the jungle presence from Prodigy. He's having himself a very good game so far.
3-1-1 on the Robin. That's good himself. A few little kills out there. 2-1-1s. Only 1 behind Sunprod in kills, but momentum really being set by Sunprod, where Ratsgood is putting all focus over in the mid lane. Sunprod's early dual lane rotation is really starting to help out PEso and Drunk Diplomat. We are starting to see, though, Mando falling a little bit behind because of all the brawling happening in mid. This Scylla's really not getting too much opportunity to farm up. At one point, down 2 levels, sitting close to that 1.5. Not sure if that was a ward or just a sound cue, or maybe that was just Mando's intuition, hearing that a Thor might be popping their way. Mando goes under tower, and that is a Thor ult down for Ratsquid.
Super Death Fang has to be careful here. Blue buffs on respawn means that it's likely Ratsquid will move over to this side of the map. But with no ultimate, won't pose too much of a threat, and so Super Death Fang fine to do essentially whatever he wants on map. Here's the thing, though. I was talking about this a little bit earlier, J-Mag. Falling behind is not nearly as big a deal anymore, unless you're playing a frontliner. If you're a frontliner and you're behind and you can't be in the front line, that's miserable. But Scylla being a half level to a level down, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Watch Mando hit a jungler. Watch Mando hit anyone that isn't a tank. He's still going to do immense damage. If you want to put a Scylla behind, you've got to do a little bit more than what we've seen.
See 1 full flat pen item finish with that Deso working towards their second with that Divine Ruin. And I'm just waiting for the opportunity to go back to base. The solo lane, I don't imagine a whole lot's going to happen over here. It is the Mystical Male Glad Rush for Super Death Fang. Keeps him super tanky against Rundus. It's giving him so much damage, not just in clear against the minions, but also just in that poke war against Rundus. Feels like whatever damage Rundus is dealing, Super Death Fang's just dealing it tenfold right back to him.
Yeah, plus has anti-heal inherent to the kit on Kakulin, so you're not getting the full value of Seething Howl for Rundus. It's not exactly a phenomenal matchup. You really want to see Fenrir get aggressive, be allowed to bully his lane opponent, but I think Kakulin's going to be able to meet him there every single time. Tit for tat, not a problem for him.
Fight here around the beacon. Party's on the way. Root connects. Crush does about 10% of Malachi's HP. But now Drunk Diplomat's even rotated. Grave's going to be late to this fight for Beacon. That is, if Grave even decides to show up. Seems like Team Khastik more than happy just to have to give up this Beacon for now. So Team PEso does get the first Beacon of the game. Grave just going to remain over in the lane, split pushing, but it's not a problem for Drunk Diplomat. He'll be able to giddy up right back to the lane, not miss out on too much, if any, farm at that point. So Team PEso, early 1,500 gold lead is nice, but as mentioned, want to get that maybe a little bit further, or at the very least, continue to hold the momentum that you've been kind of nursing this entire time.
Experience, I think, tells a different story, though, being as close as it is. Any fight could go any way at this point. We're waiting on this next rotation of objectives. Gold Fury or Pyromancer before too long. I think before we see any significant separation. A kill on Grave here could go a long way. Damage?
Third shot, not quite there. Sunprod leaves him in Mystic Rush. Grave pops the beads, turns around for the swing with a dunk in by Ratsquid. He's going to slow down this fight for a little bit. Ult by Malachi hits 2, and that should be the disengage for the fight. With 4 people on this side of the map for Team Khastik, PEso and his squad. Not one to step too much further out of position. They'll take down the shop chest by a little bit up, and they retreat for the time being. Mando, there's no ult from Ratsgood, but he still does a lot of damage. Aegis, very early in that one, dueling dragons. Don't even need to get the damage from the push together. It's just the push alone takes down Sun Prodigy.
It's a lot of damage stacked up early from XD. Do more plus Spear of Deso. Means he's doing a whole lot, clearly. I don't even think he hit his entire kit there. It was just the flame into the ultimate, and that might have been just enough to knock down Sun Prodigy. What was a decent force out from Team PEso has turned around into a pick for Team Khastik. Gold 3 pulled, and it'll go quick.
See if PEso can weasel his way in to steal this one out. Goes in for the leap. Doesn't have transformation available, so Team Khastik gets the Gold Fury. PEso will try and waddle his way out now with some backup from Drunk Diplomat and a dunk by Ratsquid. It gets the ultimate out of Super Deathfang. Sitting at half HP, but it looks like he might want to go back in. About to get that Rage transformation, but holds off for the time with the rest of the team still sitting in the jungle. Not a wise idea to run forward by yourself.
Yeah, maybe if a few more members were a bit closer by. Super Deathfang's also having himself a phenomenal game, isn't he? Every rotation we've seen from him has been impact. He's been dominating his laning phase. Even there, gets both Thor and Fenrir ultimate. Nearly creates a situation where they could have fought back in, but Sun Prodigy had elected to pick up farm on map and rotated over to the right-hand side. Means he could not get involved in that duo fight, so not going to be able to gain a whole lot from the ground that Super Deathfang establishes for his team. Instead, though, makes a rotation over towards the Pyromancer and at least trades out the neutral objectives, keeping this game relatively even.
Objective trade outs for the two. Mando getting poked by XD. It's just a nice reminder of how much damage a Yu Huang can do, especially when it's dipped into double flat pen, and now a Rod of Tahuti, third item. Feels like it's been a hot minute since we've seen a meta like that where Rod is picked up so early in the build, but when you got a lead like XD01 has, not a bad idea just to get that extra bit of burst damage, especially when you get them so low in HP. Super Deathfang drops a Runic Bomb on
Up,
tower.
down?
He's gonna keep the fight. Runda's in a bad spot. Punch down and a solo kill for Super Deathfang. Can he escape the Huang and the Thor? Dunk is there, but it's off the mark. Super Deathfang gets a little bit of damage. A nice little up down from XD will take him away. Solo kill for the solo laner of Team PEso, but a return kill for Team Khastik.
That is so unreal to me. I can't believe Rundus decided to go up down there. Maybe didn't see the bomb drop from Super Deathfang and assumed the tower would still be helping out. Poor assumption. And if we're really going to evaluate it for what happens on map there, knocks down a tier 1 tower, gets a solo kill, and forces a 4-man rotation over towards his lane, Super Deathfang wins out on that handily. Not only is Rundus denied wave, but he's also denied farm to 3 other members of Team Khastik. All the while, Team PEso able to knock down that tier 1 mid tower as well as some of those bastions, catching that Scylla back up at least a bit. XD still maintaining a 2-level lead, but any bit of gold, any bit of time that Mando's allowed to spend on map, not having to deal with multi-members of dive, seems like a time well spent for Team PEso.
Stun for stun out of SK and Ratsquid. Ratsquid's not dealing a whole lot of damage to the Fafnir just yet. PEso's just trying to play nuisance factor more than anything around these oracles. Now this is a tier 2 start that I've kind of seen a little bit. Has really been this tier 2 cloak. The prot steal that you get from it has become so valuable. I've been seeing a lot of players, whether it be solo laners or supports, pick up this tier 2 cloak, and they just sit on it for as long as physically possible until they're essentially forced to upgrade the item. They've been sitting on this tier 2.
Yeah, there's a few tier 2s in the game that I think are pretty decent. The cloak's on there, the stacking book is on there too, but you don't exactly want to sit on that the entire time. It's let me get my stacks and then immediately upgrade, build it again. But even that build has been a bit limited by the fact that we've just been seeing massive power infusion style builds. Things like Doom Orb, Desolation, Tahuti, things of the like. Don't exactly want to go for proc items. Why slow down my build with Book of Thoth when I can already get enough power to overkill most targets without having to stack up anything? But there are a few tier 2s that I think that really change up the meta a bit. I really like the tier 2 Enchanted Ring. Having additional power on it can really catch people off guard. It's also got a fun mini game of reducing the ICD with auto attacks. The only losers on tier 2s, I think, were hunters for the most part. I don't think they got any great ones.
Yeah, I think is what maybe Keen Blade was about the most they got there. The extra little bit of boost their auto attack damage. Outside of that, hunters usually just gonna grab whatever is the normal slot of the tree. The extra crit that you get, I've been seeing maybe a swap instead of going for like Rage first. You maybe go like Demon Blade or something like that, and then you can start going towards like your Deathbringer. You get that tier 2 crit, so you get the extra little boost from there. But again, you're already kind of building towards that path, so it's something you're gonna get at least along that way. So let's see. Maybe with some of the rest of the build pass pop there. Small pause. We saw there from Sun Prodigy before. We're going to try and get back into the game here in just a few moments with those players and get themselves resituated as well. But Should be interesting to see how the game continues to pan out. I mean, it's been a lot bloodier than we've seen some of the other matchups, especially in that mid lane. It's been so volatile there. It feels that anytime Rat Squid and XDO1 are together on the map, somebody is going to die.
And is that not just how Smite and any MOBA should be played? If these mid laners get the privilege of one-shotting everyone on the map once they're 6 slotted, they should have to be forced to be one-shotted for the first 20 minutes of the game. You chose the role, that's on you. Enjoy being the best guy on map 20 minutes in. Until then, enjoy the grayscale.
Yeah, it's been a fun time for the mid laners this patch, getting to see the damage they can do all throughout, but also the flip side, it's been maybe unfun for some mid laners who haven't gotten to have as much kind of fun and pressure that direction. Well, let's see how the meta continues to develop over the course of today, throughout this weekend, and even a little bit later on once we start getting to the actual LAN stage of the game. But at the current pace that we're sitting with, I mean, game is fairly even, only maybe a couple thousand gold between the two teams. Kills, who really cares at this point? Because kills are essentially just kills at this point. It's not like they're getting a kill and then immediately going for a bunch of objectives here. So as far as how the pacing of this game goes, which team does this really kind of favor as we push further towards the late game?
I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Team SK PEso. I just feel like their rotations on map have been a bit better. So if we're taking macro play into account, I'm with them right now. Just seems like the ability to burn beads and leverage burnt beads hasn't quite been there from Team Khastik, which is surprising to say considering they've got a Fenrir and a Thor. One's a single target burn, but the other, if Thor can burn a few targets, Fenrir should essentially guarantee a kill on him. But have we seen a pickup into drag into the team just yet? I don't think so. For the most part, it's been immuned out either by overhead kick, or maybe we've seen it immuned out by Kakullen ultimate or something like that. So threat on beads hasn't quite been there. There hasn't been a true 5-on-5 engagement, though. And if we do see that from Team Khastik, if they're capable of executing their dive, if they're able to make sure that Mando isn't allowed to free cast in that back line, things could get a little bit easier. And then once we do see some of those kills roll through, I imagine that Team Khastik has just an easier time overall dealing with the objectives themselves.
Yeah, we haven't really seen a whole lot of impact from Rundus just yet on this Fenrir. Would like to see some transition towards the late game, especially with, as mentioned, the amount of beads burning targets you have, not just with the Thor. You know, if you can burn some beads with the Thor or vice versa, get them with the Fen, and then gives a good time for the Thor. But you've also got the Sylvanas, a nice easy one. You hit a root, get a pull, you're almost guaranteed to get a set of beads at that point. Maybe a preemptive bead so you don't get hit by the knockup of the ultimate because of how valuable those knockups are. It's one of the longer knockups in the game as well. You get hit by that one, it feels like you're in the air for so long, and that's so much damage that needs to be pumped right back to it. So we'd like to see a little bit more involvement from the Fenrir as the game goes on. And maybe just the dual lane in general. Ever since that first gank from Sun Prodigy in that dual lane, really feels like it's been kind of quiet in that duo. We saw one rotation from Grave towards mid along with Rundus to get a kill over in mid. But outside of that, it's been very quiet, mostly of the side lanes so far for Team Khastik.
Yeah, haven't had too many opportunities to fight back. I mean, the side lanes, they've just been one-sided since the 3-minute mark. You know, there was a distinct shift in modality there from both sides, but it's not the laning phase anymore. And we are rapidly approaching, I believe it was around that 18, 19-minute mark. I could be totally mistaken. But we are approaching that time where kills should lead to objectives. I imagine if there's a runic bomb in pocket still, I don't believe there is, but we could even be talking about some pretty early sieges towards Phoenixes too. Everything has seen reductions. It's not just camps, it's not just gods. Towers got weaker, Phoenixes got weaker, they hit less hard now too. I mean, the game as a whole should just be played a good deal faster. We saw average game lengths 30, 35 minutes in previous patches. Looking at just the data right now, we're looking at like at times 20 minutes on the fast end, 25 minutes seems to be around the average. So games, they're a bit shorter than maybe you've become accustomed to if you've been watching Smite for a whole long while, if you've been watching the entirety of the SCCCC. Everything has been essentially shifted up 5 or 6 minutes.
And not just jungle general camps, but also the bosses themselves.
Yep.
The Gold Furies, the Fire Giants, Pyromancers, they're all a little bit weaker here, so can do a bit more damage to those ones. So I imagine we'll be seeing some early push to fire if you can start getting some of those picks, because we are now starting to hit that stage of the game where a respawn timer is hitting 40, 50 plus seconds at that point, and 40, 50 seconds without an enemy carry. Maybe that be the enemy mid laner, maybe that be the enemy jungler taken off the map. Opens up a lot of extra opportunities here for these players, and when you have a god like Scylla who has the best confirmation on the map currently, you throw down Crush and I'm a Monster, you're essentially doing 1,500 to 2K on these boss monsters at that point. So best secure on the map definitely goes to Team SK PEso, but have to always keep eyes on the Hugh Huang. Throw out a Phoenix Fire, dueling dragons. If you can make the centers hit at that point on the objective, could also really throw a wrench into the plans here, at least on the side of Team SK PEso. So let's keep eyes on these plays, and I think we are ready to finally jump back in here on game number 1 between SK PEso and Khastik. It's already into a fight in the mid lane. Malachi throws his ultimate, but not going to do a whole lot when 5 players are running you down. Team SK PEso get a pick in mid, head towards the beacon, and it's a dunk in by Rat Squid. Big CC, but not quite the damage he was looking for. Instead, it's all returned right back at him. SK PEso's squad takes down 2, and we might as well make it 3 because XD's all by his lonesome, being chased out by 4 in mid. Beacon and 3 kills to Team SK PEso.
I'm telling you right now, if Rat Squid hit one more person with his ultimate, that might have just been a clean win team fight for Team Khastik. Very nearly able to turn everything around. XD was a little bit too far away to follow up immediately, though. And so, only gets close enough to put himself in the danger zone. An immediate turn from SK PEso, finds 3 clean. And the Phoenix immediately afterward. No defense potential from the dual lane of Team Khastik. Malachi starts everything off just by getting picked out in mid. Twitter would have you believe that's not how it should go. I'm telling you right now, that's how it should go every single time. Immobile Guardian walking alone with no tier 1 tower against 4 should just be dead, and that's exactly how it goes this time around. Team SK PEso gonna just pick the map clean now.
No, that also should be how it goes. Look at his build, Mifflin. 1 defense item, and it's not even fully stacked on Prophetic Cloak. It's 13 stacks into a Rod of Asclepius and tier 1 pen. This is not a tanky Sylvanas. This is a guy built to give you extra heals and provide some extra damage to your team. Malachi is not a tank at this stage of the game, especially when there's 4 people running him down.
And I'm thinking his team's going to take notice of that real soon. I'd be surprised if we were, in the comms of Team Khastik and someone says, hey, yo, Malachi, you're not tanky, man. Like, what's going on? Those heals are awesome, but you really can't get hit a single time. And your Prophetic's not exactly stacked up either. Tough stuff there for Team Khastik, who are going to really struggle now for frontline initiation. It's kind of all at the feet of Rundus. And here's the thing about how Rundus is on Fenrir. He can hit 5 people with a stun. He could, though. It's just incredibly difficult to do. His ultimate's single target CC. Brutalize just doesn't really work with this build. It's not really a value trade. I think Seeding Howl auto attack is just going to be better every single time. So just consider that an additional leap for Rundus out of the soul lane. Oh, man, Team Khastik. Maybe they're just completely relying on XD finding poke and Rat Squid hitting another priority ultimate like that. Beads down on a few targets here. Prodigy, just fine.
Yeah, he jukes out Phoenix Fire, jukes out the Dueling Dragons just by sidestepping. And then even the hammer and the wall combo from Rat Squid gets a whole lot of nothing. Sun Prod will be fine. Heads back to base, resustain up, and picks up that serrated edge 4th slot now. Not quite level 20, can't get his starter item just yet. Meanwhile, first 20 of the map goes over to Super Deathbank. 4-1-1 on the Cucullin. Didn't even realize how many kills he'd been picking up in these team fights. Hasn't had a chance to upgrade that bluestone just yet. Has the gold in hand, so I imagine we'll head back to base now and go ahead and upgrade that starter item for himself. But Team SK PEso, this 3K gold lead almost feels like 13K with the way that they're playing these team fights.
Yeah, they've been leveraging it very well. A lot of that gold's still in pocket, though. And gold in pocket does not exactly equate to a lead. Doug, can I get a look at the player damage charts? Gotta think that Super Deathbank's just at the top, and he still is, by a significant margin, 5,000 on the next nearest, and that it's XD001, who has had himself a really good game up to this point as well.
Mando, why have you only done 1,000 damage this game, my dude?
Hey, that 1,000 damage was 1-2. Okay, all right. He hit a combo one time, and it was sick.
Yeah, on Malachi. I think in that last fight.
Watch him do it again. It's going to be 2,000. Do it a few more times. He'll catch up. Give him a second. Okay? That's the way of the road for these mid laners. Bro was grayscaled for the first 10 minutes.
You know what? That's fair. He was dove on consistently. At one point, didn't even get a chance to see what happened to his HP bar because he was dunked on by Rat Squid, killed before the beads even had a chance to really go off. All right, we'll see what Malachi cooks up the rest of the game. He's got a pretty heavy damage build, too. Double Flat Pen, Rod Tahuti, now Soul Reaver. Kind of capped this one out.
These guys are copying each other's homework a little bit, huh?
Yeah, like the only difference is the do more for XD. He's going to move a little bit faster, but that anti-heal going to be so valuable for Mando up against this one. Remember, those heals going to be so much stronger now with those lower HP thresholds, so smart little pickup there for Mando, but might be a little moment here before he's able to go back and finish up that starter item for himself.
It's time to start getting some vision around the Fire Giant pit. Seems like Stygian Beacon the target for just about everybody here. The fight might erupt around the beacon, but it's instead in mid. Massive ult!
Super Deathfang kicking off this fight immediately, and it separates the fight. 2 to the top, 2 to the bottom, and the 2 who went low. One of them's already gone. Mando off the board. Runda's running away. It's just Super Deathfang doing everything in the pack line. He doesn't need any assistance. PEso will help clean up the kill on the Rundus. And Super Deathfang has no fear. Rudon Malachi to back away. XD01 doing a lot of damage. But now it's Team PEso with 3 dead on Team Khastik. They're going straight for the Fire Giant.
No relics available for XD. Malachi, not enough damage to finish off his kill either. Sun Prodigy limping away from that Wisp ultimate combo. Tough stuff, man. And all off rip comes from Super Deathfang, who is having himself a superhero game for Team PEso. Was that a 4-man knock-up in mid? Normally, that's not enough. Nowadays, that is enough. Your Soul Eater is able to just make things happen on his own. Damage output, phenomenal. Starts the fight off right, separates the engagement, continues the dive afterward with the help of Sun Prodigy. It just makes the team fight look so clean and easy from there, pushing that gold lead upwards of nearly 7,000. Fire Giant on 4. Mando, unfortunately, didn't get a whole lot done in that engagement. Recipient of dive, doesn't get to do a whole lot of damage, doesn't get the Fire Giant buff, but hasn't exactly been necessary for Team PEso up until now. So I think perfectly content is the Order side with their ability to siege from here on out. Tier 2 towers still standing at both side lanes, but on their last legs means I don't imagine we see Team Khastik put up a hard defense on either side. Yu Huang not exactly the best at clearing waves. Grave just now starting to move down that charge bow path, so no AoE damage really coming from him either. It's going to be scrounging for the last 1,000 or so gold to finish that one up. Instead, it's all about the all-in initiation. And here's the thing about how the all-in could have been good from Team Khastik had Malachi elected to pick up something like Blink. Instead, he's got Heavenly Shell. Good luck getting in there and landing an Impact Ultimate like we had just seen from Super Deathfang.
And the follow-up with that, surviving.
Yep.
Long enough to get to the backline.
Well, that's not the point.
It's more damage.
It's not the point, all right?
It's more damage for Malachi. Going into the Sorcerer Staff tree now, not sure which of the 4 options he'll go towards. Curse Weaver could be something, but he doesn't have a whole lot of HP or mana to his name, so not going to get as much value there. Definitely don't want to see Warlock, so maybe you just go Gem, or you go Gem of Isolation or Ethereal, but might not even get a chance to go for that one. It's a Phoenix Siege attempt for Team PEso in that dragon form. Dueling Dragons, not going to find anybody. It's a double ult for Super Deathfang once more. Rundus picks up PEso, pulls him to the back line, but it's Malachi who's just getting absolutely blown up from the rest of the damage dealers. Mando goes in with the ultimate. Who's he going to fire it at? It's already too late. That target is dead. Ratsquid trying to get something done, but it just doesn't have the damage. The Phoenix is gone, and Super Deathfang, he's still in the back line. 1v3, doesn't care, finally goes down after a double kill by himself. And Mando picks up another. It is 4 dead on Team Khastik, but maybe the best person left to stay alive. XD001 on the Yu Huang, a 1v4. And I think this isn't going to be the easiest attempt here for Team PEso. They're playing this one very cautiously. This Yu Huang has a lot of damage. Hammer Stun is good. Damage on the Chiron forces out the Aegis, and that's enough for XD01 to go back to the fountain for Team PEso to take game 1.
Look, as an analyst here, an unbiased analyst, Super Deathfang 1v9 the lobby, first off. Secondly, I'm not allowed to do this. I'm going to offer some advice. Ban the Cucullin. He can't be allowed to do that anymore. That is simply illegal. It looked like Harlem Globetrotters almost. It looked like some coach trying to relive his glory days, rocking up on the Pee Wee League. Super Deathfang diffed the lobby. It was a massive trench out of the soul lane. I'm not going to be nice about it either. He legitimately did everything. He killed everybody. He topped the damage charts the entire game. He initiated the fights. He finished the fights. He zoned. He created the space on the Phoenixes. He probably out DPS everyone on the Titan itself too. I can't tell you anything besides you can't let him do that.
Yeah, I think a Cucullin ban is probably warranted. Or if you're first pick for Team Khastik in game number 2, maybe just take that one for yourself. Give Rundus maybe a little bit easier time in the solo lane. We'll have to see if it gets banned away and how Team Khastik can adjust for game number 2 right after this break.
bop and I like me too. No roof on my top and my babe see-through. Hating on the pen, don't stop, it ain't gon' feed you. I've been all on my grind, so why I need you? Baby girl love my bop and I like me too. No roof on my top and my babe see-through. Hating on the pen, don't stop, it ain't gon' feed you. I've been all on my grind, so why I need you? Big flex, my swole up. Double cup and I'm pulled up. Hating like hold up. What's the problem? I'm pulled up. Big flex, my swole up. Hard body, they fold up. Shorty say I done glowed up. Double text on my phone up. With your boy, I'm the man of the year. I'm not a fan of your peers. Serve him a fade, I'ma hand him the shears. He not the man of your peers. Heart of a lion, I'm trampling fears. I love the man in the mirror. Crowd me a river to stand in the tears. You better stand in the clear. I'm going crazy, fugazi. How would they ever go with a kid? Put it on, baby. It do not faze me. Boy, I do not get what you did. Eating that kitty, she stuck in my rib. How can I trust him? He the pigs. Bro got a Glock and a couple of C's. He think about splitting a couple of wigs. Shotty my DNA all real. Sweatsuit all heel figure. And I ain't even got to deal with you. If I ain't never split a bill with you. I got Hennessy and horchata. Baby girl wearing nada. Growing from a cider, bad robe in his Prada. Fiji water by the cold glass, granddaddy by the ziplock. Flex season, I'm road running, I'm staying all on my tip top. Young man with an old mind, so I ain't worried about slight. I be up till sunrise, I'm staying out on my night shift. I got a bottle of bourbon, a bundle of honeys, I'm jiggy, I'm flexing it. Figured I hit it and quit it, I'm busy, I ain't got the minutes for texting it. Came from the gutter with me and my brother, I'm moving my mother right out of the city. I'm a star and they know I go hard, so I'm kissing them babies and signing them. Gold blinging like Chingo, rock star like Ringo. Checks coming in back to back, I'ma line them up like bingo. Oh, I think that they like me, they be all on my wood tip. Not a stain on my white tee, I'm popping all of this good. Big flex, my swole up, double cup and I'm pulled up. Hating like hold up, what's the problem? I'm pulled up. Big flex, my swole up. Hard body, they fold up. Shorty say I done glowed up. Double text on my phone up. Baby girl love my bop and I like me too. No roof on my top and my babe see through. Hating on the pen, don't stop, it ain't gon' feed you. I've been all on my grind, so why I need you? Baby girl love my bop and I like me too. No roof on my top and my babe see through. Hating on the pen, don't stop, it ain't gon' feed you. I've been all on my grind, so why I need you? I used to work the day away. I figured I could maybe pave away. No, it's a count the days till I fade away. But you know I always find my way to turn a bad look in the field to something solid. I'm on target for a major play. Used to waste a day away. She hit me to say I'm on her mind, but my commitment to the game got me OT till I OD and then I fade away. Lately I've been giving dial tones and meeting milestones. No way I'm giving all of me. She settled for a left hand with a gem over a piece of me. My mind's always as clear when she done climbing on the top of me. Really by the code, need you to keep the same energy. I've been in my sleep, I got here off muscle memory. Self-love gone missing, I'm right back to claims of needing you. I give you that attention that you craving, got you refueled. For real, I hope you find some sort of peace and all that meditating. I've been looking for mine inside the blood, I'm self-medicated. Bad little vibe, ride or die, she on standby. 30 from 30, I'm not missing if I'm shooting mine. All I ever did was take the risk and learn in real time. How you think I'm up right now, been living on this type of time. All I ever did was take the risk and learn in real time. How you think I'm up right now, been living on this type of time. All I ever did was take the risk and learn in real time. The world outside's on fire, niggas dying and the rent is due. When the babies learn to cock and fire back before they even get to live their truth. I think somebody God got me right, cause I don't really look like what I made it through. People from the past wonder how. Somebody tell the realest, this live inside you too. I keep a bad little vibe, ride or die, she on standby.
Immortals have invaded my realm, and my children rebel against me. Dark days these are. But my strength shall bring resolution, and my lightning illumination! Zeus!
Bologna.
Anubis.
Sarah.
Kukulkan. Saturn.
That's right, Star Forge Systems and SMITE have teamed up to bring you one of the coolest looking cases on the market and one of the best PCs in the universe. If you go to starforgesystems.com, you can pick up a brand new SMITE themed PC. Available if you go to starforgesystems.com/product/smite. You can either pick up an entire pre-built PC, or if you're looking to build your own and just want to have the coolest case on the market, you can pick that up as well. Thank you so much to Starforge Systems for working with us and getting a beautiful SMITE themed PC. That way you can jump in, and once SMITE 2 is ready to go, you can play it on one of the best PCs out there. I'm J-Mac. I got Mifflin joining me here on the desk as we break down game 1 and get ready to get set up for game number 2, but I think he kind of broke down game number 1 pretty easily at the very end. This was the Super Death Fang show pretty much the entire way. I would say maybe like 10 minutes past. Sun Prodigy starts it, Super Death Fang then picks things up, and it's just clean sailing for Team SK PEso.
It's one misplay in the dual lane where Graves' target selection not great off a phenomenal pull into tower in SK PEso. Results in a double kill, double buff invade. Puts the team in a lead. Super Death Fangs over in the soul lane just... I mean, we can't air it again. Sorry, no post-game clips. It literally couldn't be shown on Twitch. We got a strike on the last one. It was brutal. So just trust me when I say Super Death Fang was war criming that guy over in the soul lane. And that's essentially it. That's all she wrote. What did we learn? Get him off Kukulkan, probably.
Yeah, probably ban the Kukulkan if you're Team Khastik, or pick it up instead if you take that first pick spot for yourself. Just Super Death Fang can't be allowed to play the Kukulkan the same way again, probably ever the rest of this weekend, the rest of the event, and maybe all the way up until if the team makes it to the LAN qualifiers with performances like the Team SK PEso had today. Pretty sure shot for them so far. We'll have to see a Team Khastik can make adjustments here in game number 2. I also think for Malachi and the Sylvanas, need to see maybe a little bit more defense. Going for the first item Prophetic Cloak is great if you can stack Prophetic Cloak, but was having a difficult time stacking it because of how squishy the rest of his build was. Going for the Asclepius into Spear of Deso and then into more damage essentially was making it to where Rundus had to be the lone tank, and Rundus on the Fenrir isn't really able to tank up the damage that the rest of the team is dealing.
All right, hear me out, J-Mac, because this is maybe my silliest take. It's not. It's actually based in fact and reality. I'm coming at you with stats. There's no stats to back it. When you are behind, especially in a 9-5 meta, building defense from behind feels terrible because you'll never catch up to the damage curve. He could have decided to go full defense from like 0-3 when his team was like already 4,000 gold down, and he would have never been able to just like absorb damage. That would have never happened. So I think the decision, well, I'm never going to be tanky, but I can at least do more damage, and if everybody's squishy, maybe I'm doing enough impact damage that it doesn't matter. I think that's a little bit better. Damage from behind is better than defense from behind. It is essentially the entire take. But I spent 2.5 minutes saying it because I'm paid by the word.
It's true. It's in his contract. Written there in the fine print down on page 17.
That's why some casts, I just don't talk. We run out of budget.
Yeah, you got to make sure we're keeping Mifflin in check on that one, making sure he doesn't run the rest of us off the show at that point. Did you see what Sunprod had for breakfast before this one? It was actually posted in chat by SK PEso.
Yeah, Dino Nuggies and Tater Tots.
Yeah, talk about the gamer brequest, man.
He's like 13, right? That's just, yeah. Me too when I was 13,
Wait, I thought he
man.
just turned 15.
Congratulations on your quinceañera, Sun Prodigy. God, I hope that's 15.
I think it is.
Yeah, gotta be.
I think it is. You know what? Let's delay no further. Picks and bans, game number 2. We'll see what changes do get made by Team Khastik coming into this one. We'll be taking that second pick slot. So being in second pick, and after the performance we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, you're cooking up. What do you got?
One of those 3 bands on the right side should probably pick up a pretty picture of Cucullin's portrait. Oh, no, they swapped. Okay, so if you're on Team SK PEso, one of those 3 pictures on the right, so it's still the same thing, just different names, should probably be a Cucullin's picture popped up.
Sorry, someone in chat says that Super Deathfang eats raw flour, and
what?
That
can't be good. I mean, I guess it can't be bad for you, but it can't be good.
Hey, he's baking bread in his tummy.
It's like the people who eat raw eggs. Like,
no, that's like good for you.
Well, I guess that's better for you.
Yeah, there's like nutritional value.
But
to
it's
that.
Still weird to me.
No, for sure. No one's doing it because they like. Oh yeah, well, people in Japan, but like they put that on like rice, and their eggs are better. No one's doing like a raw egg Tabasco shot and was like, I did that because I like the flavor. They're doing that because like I need to hit my macros.
But why would Super Deathwing just be eating raw flour? There's no flavor.
Maybe that's the secret to his power. He's got flour power.
I hate that worked out so well. You know what? If eating raw flour gets me to play like Super Deathwing, I might just be a raw flour for breakfast believer at this point.
Okay, you're gross. I'll never do that.
I probably won't.
Talk to me about the bands, J-Mac.
So the bands don't have a Cucullin yet. It's Ishel Medusa for SK PEso's team. On the opposite side for Team Khastik, it is the Fafnir and Camazotz. So getting SK PEso off of a comfort pick in the Fafnir, off a powerful pick in that support role. But I'd maybe like to see that Cucullin pop up. Lancelot makes sense. If you don't want to first pick that one, don't give them the opportunity to. They're hoping for the Cucullin, and they might just get it here with the Chang'e ban.
Yeah, surely Cucullin pick. Or, and this happens a lot. I've been on a lot of teams in not the last few years, actually. Like over a decade ago, I used to play this game on teams. Fun fact. And there would always be a set that was dictated by a pick, but whoever was laning against it or playing against it, and I'm guilty of this as well. You know, I've been in Thor metas where like we're not banning Thor. That guy's butts. He got lucky. Maybe that's where we're at right now. Rundus is like, dude, no way Super Deathfang can hang, bro. I was 3,400 MMR in Season 8. Like, there's just no way he can hang with me. He got lucky. Early start, this, that, or the other. I'm still adjusting to the meta. I don't need the Cucullin. Give it back to him. Run it back. I'll teach him a lesson. Maybe that's where we're at right now.
We're seeing what Team Khastik wants to go for that first pick. Thor option, if Red Squid wants to try and reprise the gold and try and go for it again. Terra, a strong pick. One that I think has been criminally slept on at most ranks of play. Maybe in the ranked scene is getting a little bit more recognition, but the casual scene and even some competitive has been seeing as much. But
who could have seen it coming?
When you leave a Cucullin open for a guy who just went crazy on Cucullin,
I had no idea. You're telling me you knew that was gonna happen?
Look, when the stars align.
Oh, jeez.
In the last star just boop, popped into place. And that ends up being Cucullin.
So it's going to be a run back of at least 2 picks here for Team SK PEso. A lot of ability damage from Chiron, who essentially got a free game throughout. Got owned for the first 3 levels, got a rotation from his jungler, then AFK farmed until he could just send Taurus to follow up on... what's Cucullin's ultimate called?
The Spear of Mortal Pain.
The Spear of Mortal Pain?
Or Warcry, depending on which form you're in.
You know what's crazy? When Cucullin was releasing, I was sitting in the design meetings for it, and the original pitch for his ultimate name was Gaebong, and that is the name of his spear in, I think it's Celtic mythology. The quote from the designers were, "The community is not mature enough for us to actually call it that." But for some reason, that's stuck in my mind. It's like Jinku Bang. Like I don't know what Sun Wukong's one is called. Something Cudgel, I think.
It's just Magic Cudgel.
Yeah, I'm calling it Jinku Bang. And, you know, again, community not mature enough. So that's what we call it, Magic Cudgel now.
Sometimes it's just what happens when you go from the design phase. You have a really great idea and you go, we should probably change the name just for the sake of it. Yeah. Also because people probably wouldn't know how to fully spell it, and so they might just
I
get
have no clue.
Timed out in Twitch. It's something like, I mean, I think it's Gaebog, something like that. I don't know.
There's an L in there.
I don't know. Maybe Golg or Bolg, something like that. I don't know.
I don't speak Celtic.
Look, I didn't even pass spelling bees, bro.
That's not even they're not tests, man. They're
you would believe they are with how serious some people take them, man.
It's a competition.
Yeah.
It's not pass fail.
Yeah, I failed them competitions.
All right.
I did not do well in spelling bees.
Understood. You know, while we're just doing fun facts,
give me a fun
PBM,
fact.
Polar Bear Mike, he's actually like I believe a 2nd grade spelling bee state champion.
Wow.
I was talking to him about that a few days ago. So
knowing PBM,
there you go.
That makes a lot of sense because that dude has some of the best memory of anybody in the SPL. Between him and Aurora, they have some of the most insane memory. They could be like, yeah, in like Season 2, Split 1, Week 4, I played this god and went absolutely crazy. It's like, dude, I don't remember what I had for breakfast 3 days ago, and you're remembering what you did like 8 years ago. Like watching, I think it was Captain Twig's most recent video where he ranked like the top 15 SPL players of all time. Hearing the amount of stuff that like him, and then immediately because PBM was doing like a reaction stream to it, hearing all the stuff that like PBM was rattling off, like, huh? Like, I watched all this and I don't remember that. How do you remember these things from 8 years ago?
Yeah, when I speak of the past of the SPL, I rely on the fact that most people just don't know. So I could be a little bit wrong, and like it's just gonna fly under the radar. They're like, oh, you know, yeah, Demi was like really good at Soul Lane. I'm like, oh, nobody calls me out, you know. Mike's calls me out every single time. I can't talk about Smite when Mike's around. He's like, yeah, you're almost right, and then he'll let me know. Catch us up on P's and B's, man. I got lost in the sauce.
Yeah, with the Fafnir banned away, will be a Ganesh in place for Team SK PEso, and then do along with the Terra, Hercules, and On Her will be the lock-in for Team Khastik. Catching up now on the bans, it is Raven and Ratatosker for Team SK PEso. Opposite side for Khastik, gonna ban away the Daji. Still leave option for the Thor available if Khastik's team wants to go for that one. That is, if it doesn't get taken by Sun Prodigy, if it's not banned away here at this point, could see the pickup there. Will not see it. It will be the Susano instead. So a lot of options up here for Sun Prodigy. You can take the Thor away, get off away from Ratsgood, because now you take the Ratatosker and the Thor away from two of his bigger picks. Put him on something maybe he's a little less comfortable on. So at that point, what do you then go for Ratsgood? When you've already got a lot of initiation with this team, you maybe play something that sits a little bit further back, or maybe something that can kind of abuse and burn beads.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a massive fan of like, and this is something that I believe, again, quoting Mike, back in OG 9.5, it was a Sam for soccer meta. What does that mean? Thor, Hun bots, the OG assassins are really good. Things like Mercury, Surcat as well. So any god like that gets locked in, I'm not exactly going to argue against. But there's not many gods that I'll argue against in general right now. Feels like the 9.5 revert has essentially kept the gods that were in meta. They're still in the meta. They're still incredibly strong, but have brought in like 50 or 60 other gods now. Like out of, what is it, 130 picks in Smite, I would say 100 of them are completely viable. And then if you lock in Arachne in my ranked games, I'll report you. And then that's where we're at right now in the meta.
Well, we want to talk about picks that with this meta have come back. I've been watching some of the junglers out there in the rank scene play this Surcat, and it is criminal the amount of damage you can do. I legitimately watched a mid laner die to Deathbane 1 auto from a Surcat just because the amount of crit you build up, you stack all three on the dash with an auto follow-up, they just die. It is insane how much damage this god is able to do now with these health and protection changes pulled back a little bit. So not surprised we're seeing the Surcat. Maybe surprised we're seeing the Awilish in response for Team Khastik. Good to pull the Surcat back. Probably don't ever want to pull the Cucullin back after what happened in the previous game, but going to be relying on themselves and a little bit of this Hercules to do some of the heavy lifting for these knockups.
Yeah, there's On Her for the knockup too, but if he's leaping in, you got to really hope the fight's going well before that. I do like the Awilish just in general. So often I feel like we get caught up in the minutia of, is Gravity Surge going to be an impact ability here? There are a lot of answers or a lot of leaps on the other side. What we've completely forgotten, I think, is that Feather Step is essentially an execute at level 6. I mean, you're just going to do 80% of somebody's HP, and that was in 11.5. We're in 11.6, which is essentially 9.5, which means everyone's at around 8 to 900 HP at level 8, and Awilish is doing like already 2 to 300, not counting the auto attacks, not counting the additional damage from her passive. I'm thinking there's a very real chance that Awilish just one-shots people. Same can be said of Surcat on the other side, but Awilish's damage is a little bit less conditional. Surcat, you kind of want to line up that taunt, make sure they're standing still, get the full channeled one. Awilish just like needs to land 2 auto attacks.
Go with the Awilish will be Raijin for the side of Team Khastik for their mid lane, and then in response will be Agni for Team SK PEso. Already been able to see what Agni is able to do with these bombs late game. 800, 900, 1,000 damage per bomb, and by the way, he gets 3 of those if he can stack those ones up before a team fight even kicks off. So all it really takes is one setup CC either from the Agni himself or any of the other members of his team to really start to kick off that fight, and well, one of those squishy characters might just be dead. So Team SK PEso can kind of let this game coast a little bit through the early game, play almost exactly the same way they did last time, where it's just let the fighting come to them, maybe let Sun Prodigy a little bit involved, And once you get that level 20, once Super Deathfang gets that fourth, maybe fifth slot in itemization, just let him run rampant on the map. Because I'll pitch it your way, Mifflin. Which god on this team, or maybe which individuals on Team Khastik, can really stop the Cucullin from running rampant?
If from an even state, you could trust Raijin to do it. If things get sticky, push him away. If things aren't sticky, just destroy him with Tycho Drum. There's a lot of damage to play with on the side of Team Khastik. And looking at the composition shift from Team Khastik, it is, we do not want to lose lanes. I don't want to lose pressure. That is an incredibly high pressure dual lane, high kill pressure dual lane with the on her. Wheelish is a minute 1 to minute 15 lane dominant bully out of the jungle. Raijin looks for the 1v1 as well. Top to bottom, Team Khastik say we're going to bring pressure and we're going to play with pressure. Whereas Team PEso have the potential a bit. You're not getting pressure in mid though. Agni versus Raijin, maybe around level 8 and 9, things will start to equalize there. But until then, that is completely Raijin one-sided. Cirquet's a little bit more conditional. Definitely has a lot more pressure than she did on previous patches, but not exactly matching up with the Wheelish. If they find each other in the jungle, you generally tend to favor the Wheelish in the 1v1. Chiron's okay. He's decent at clearing waves. Ganesh, not exactly. So that lane's probably going to be playing a little bit more passive for the first 10 or so minutes. I would say Cucullin versus Hercules is a toss-up, but I saw what Super Deathfang is going to do, so I'll give him 7-3 odds on getting pressure. Difference is this time, though, is if Super Deathfang gets pressure, previously, because all of his lanes had pressure, barring mid, it would distract the jungler and wouldn't make it as easy to rotate to solo lane. You don't want to rotate there because you're worried about the Gold Fury. Now, if you're the only lane that's doing well, kind of puts a target on your back.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of struggle out of the mid lane for Team PEso. Last time, Mando not quite able to land the abilities throughout the early stages of the game, was getting heavily bullied out.
Hold on. He didn't land abilities in any stage of the game. He ended the game with 3,000 damage. We can't say early was rough, late was great for Mando. He died, and then his team won.
Well, here's the thing. It was rough for Mando early because he was dying and not landing abilities.
Yeah.
Late game, he was not dying but also not landing.
Yeah.
So it was at least he's not dying. So it was better in that stage at the very least.
Yeah, all right, I'm with you.
But maybe don't die and also deal some damage this time on the Agni. You got a much easier time. You get bombs every like 18 seconds at this point. Just toss one of those out there. That's an easy 300-400 damage in the early game. Just, boop.
And I'll give you the training wheels combo, right? You don't have to do bomb stun. Do 2 and then throw your stun afterward, and you guarantee 1 bomb. I promise you'll get that 1 bomb every single time, unmissable stun. So there are ways to confirm damage on Agni.
We'll have to see if the damage numbers come up for Mando. Can Team PEso make their mark to the grand finals with this game, or will Team Khastik take us to game number 3? We'll find out in game 2. It's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug back once more to bring the action for game number 2 between Team Khastik and Team PEso. As I mentioned just a moment ago, grand finals on the line for both these teams. If PEso can secure the win here, they go to grand finals, guaranteeing themselves a spot at our LAN in just a few weeks. And a loss here for Team Khastik would mean a chance at elimination in tomorrow's second matchup, awaiting the loser of our second set of the day between Team Rudy and Team Captain Twig. But we're in the here and now for game number 2. Nothing super stands out, at least to me, as far as starts go. Everything seems pretty standard. Eye of the Jungle, maybe a different one from Ratsquid this time. Went for the Bumbas last game. Now starting for that Eye of the Jungle in his spot, first slot.
With Jungle being allowed to play so much faster on the current patch, Eye of the Jungle lacking the sustain of Bumbas doesn't matter nearly as much because you're looking for early fights. Whereas in the in the Bumba's jungle meta, it was how long can we stay out on field? I want to make sure I don't have to back before I finish my mace, before I can get like 1650 gold. Nowadays, backing for like heavy mace feels okay, so long as you're getting pressure on map. So I think Eye of the Jungle just makes a lot more sense.
Solo lane matchup between Herc and Cucullin. This could go sideways pretty quickly for one or the other. An easy 2-1 pull from Rundus. Could be an easy kill on a Super Deathfang. Likewise, you already see what Super Deathfang is doing to Rundus. Quick dash away actually pulls him away from that knockup. So back to safety for the time being in the solo lane. But I imagine until we see maybe the junglers rotate over, probably shouldn't see a first blood in solo, but now with all those lowered thresholds, it's a little bit easier to get those solo kills on that side.
You know, this is 2 games in a row now where Rundus is elected to go for gods that leverage sustain into an anti-sustain. God, Prodigy. That's the early game damage. That's what can happen to you. Don't get leapt on. Barely survives. Good for him, but it's going to really slow down his jungle farm.
I got to sit back for quite some time to resustain. We'll need the help of Mando just to clear out any of these camps now. First one over will at least be towards that left side Harpy camp for Team SK PEso. Nearly a first blood already in the mid lane. A lot of what you'll expect in your games. Ratsquid actually going over to solo lane. Quick jump away from SDF. Gets him away from that knockout by Rundus, who's sitting pretty low in health right now. 200 HP to the Hurt's name. He has not had a chance to resustain himself in this lane just yet.
Uh-oh.
Do you see some damage? The beads pull away from Grave, but Sun Prodigy's going to keep going in. Takes the impale. Dash in by the Terra is good with the wall. May have just sealed his own fate. Grave may just lose his life along with Malachi. Double kill, and it's on Drunk Diplomat. Not even Prodigy getting the kills, giving it over to the dual lane. And it's a disastrous start for Team Khastik.
Double kill, first blood to the ADC that is elected to go down the stacking path means that that lane might just be chalked. But this is something I was talking to you about before the day even started, J-Mag. Here's the thing. I played 15 ranked games in the last 3 days, and I'm pretty sure I've started every single game off 0-7. When everybody's squishier, you could still have that fight back potential. If you're 2 levels down, in current patch, you can still find some solo kills. On her's the god to do it. The only difficulty I could see on her running into there is that Centaurus makes you death immune just a little bit. Like you're immune to that thing that gets kills. So that could make it a bit more difficult, but it's not completely chalked in the duo lane. Whereas on previous patch, I would argue unplayable for the next 10 minutes.
We're just revealing his hand a little bit. That Ratsquid was on the way after he stepped up aggressively towards SDF on the Kukulkan. We'll be able to see him go back. We've also seen from Rundus now 2 games in a row going towards this Blackthorn start. A lot of extra HP that you get to, a decent bit of power, where the response from...
Wouldn't happen again.
Oh, surely you would hope not, but the taunt does
Grow
hit
up.
Grave, grabs him, Centaurus, and the last breath poison for the kill.
That's awesome.
Grave might not get a play for a few more minutes. Ratsquid on the way over, but stepping up in a, I'm going to call it a 1.5 v3 with Malachi sitting at half HP. Not the wisest decision, so instead we'll just grab that Serpent camp. Meanwhile, Sun Prodigy going to leave that shield camp there for his dual lane to go ahead and grab. 3 kills already up for Team SK PEso.
And here's the thing about shutting down Grave early on. It's a good way to put him on tilt. Mando fast on that dash, avoids the damage from Ratsquid. If Ratsquid lands the auto attack, Awelish is an interesting interaction with Agni, and that Feather Step will chase just far enough that you'll interrupt the dash. So, whiffs that first auto on Blink, loses out on the ability to get that kill, but even then, I'm not certain that he would be able to kill him fast enough in the tower without trading his own life. So, maybe fortunate for both sides. Nobody dies there, just a mute trade. Ratsquid loses out on his Blink, Mando loses out on literally nothing. Clean stuff so far for Team SK PEso. I'm keeping my eyes on Sun Prodigy, because I've been a Sun Prodigy fan for a good long while now, J-Mac. I've watched a few Sun Prodigy streams. That guy is a serial giggler. He likes to giggle.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you another rotation in the dual lane is going to put that man into a full anime villain laughing fit. And I want to live in that world.
I mean, just on the last... Oh, he's already back. Prodigy, you've already destroyed this duo. You don't have to break their spirits, too. All right, well...
Nice try.
Saves him. So I'm probably just going to walk around. He's fine, though. Not falling behind because of this rotation. Actually forcing Ratsquid to stay on this side of the map as well. Is giving SDF and Mando full reign of that side of the map. Taunt hits. Centaur's a little bit off the mark, but last breath poison is plenty damage for Drunk Diplomat to close out that kill. 3-0-1 on the Chiron. This is not a fun start for Team Khastik. Well, we're seeing rotations from Ratsquid. They're all in response to Sun Prodigy, who is just the momentum setter for Team SK PEso right now.
I am absolutely adoring this Surcat Chiron combo. The I hit my taunt so you die true combo. Anywhere on the map because Centaurus has just got so much range on it. Clean stuff to Team SK PEso. Clearly something that they have decided to play around In previous matches, we've seen Sun Prodigy put a little bit more emphasis on the mid lane. We've seen him make rotations over towards the solo lane. This time around, it's I'm going to sit on Graves' head and make him regret playing on her. And here's the thing, like, on her is like not even like an unsafe pick. Has a standard leap, has CC immunity ultimate, has ways to fight back in. It's just not fast enough.
This would be a great way to get back in the game. Knockup is good. Boulder hits, but it's a double knockup in response. Sun Prodigy can't get there in time. And Ratsquid draws the first blood for his team. And on a great pick as well. Trying to shut down Super Deathfang a little bit earlier is a great call for Team Khastik. Don't let the Cullen get his free farm.
Yeah, if XD doesn't make that rotation, I think Sun Prodigy's good for one on the return there. So great rotation from the mid laner. This is 2 games in a row now where XD has kept Mando locked into that tier 1 tower and has made early rotations to the side lanes just because of all that additional pressure afforded to him. So great stuff from XD so far. Unfortunately for him, doesn't get the kill for himself, but at least prevents his team from falling down.
Tier 1 crit already picked up for Sun Prodigy. He thought he was doing a lot of damage before with that Deathbane. Just wait till you get hit by a couple of straight crits on the Circuit. He is going right back to duo. This is now just Sun Prodigy's side of the map. Maybe doesn't even need to be there, though. Centaurus, good damage onto Grave. Masterful shot after. Puts Grave down to half HP. But that's also SK Peso's Armic Pillars used. So, Lost Volts in the duo. Kill onto SDF over on this lane. Able to leap away. Doesn't have ultimate in response just yet. And it'll be another kill for Ratsquid on the right side of the map.
Feels bad, man, for Super Deathfang. Ratsquid making a great adjustment from game 1. Putting some of that pressure over in the solo lane, facilitating Rundus just a bit more. And now Rundus, with Blackthorn having built power and a slight lead, it's going to be really tough for SDF to fight back in.
Diplomat stunned out. Leap in is good. Grave and Malachi pick up a kill in the dual lane. A good response back. And now we're seeing the fight out of Team Khastik. Had a difficult start over in the dual lane, but now it's starting to turn up great for the team. 2 kills in solo, 1 kill in the dual lane. Nearly ties up the kill count.
Ratsquid's got to play careful here. There's a lot of damage to play with. Mando seems very unwilling to do the 2-1 combo. Starts the fight off with bombs once more here. Does not connect. So Ratsquid able to walk out of that one. Any bit of damage coming from Mando at this point is actually very significant. Spear of Desolation is a massive power infusion early on, and the additional CDR from Sands of Time and Spear of Deso means he's allowed to just throw out those meteors essentially anytime anyone's in range. Still do need to connect some of them to get that value. Regardless, Mando keeping himself above water just by not matching the rotations of XDs, force a few of those waves into tower, and it accumulates, I believe, maybe about a quarter level lead over XD at this point. Keep your eye on him. This Agni's got high mobility and has gone for a pretty fast build here. I'm expecting some rotations from him soon.
Fight between the Soul and her Sun Prod, though, gets the taunt on a Ratsquid. 40% of his health gone in an instant, I should say, for both the junglers, but toss him out of the bomb damage. Doesn't matter. Mando's got the follow-up anyways.
Good old.
And a Tarmic Pillar from SK Peso, followed by a Silence. Rundus has got nowhere to go. Knockup is good. Push stopped in its tracks, and SDF back on the board with his first kill of the game. Response back is the Drunk Diplomat. Goes for the Centaurs. With a tower shot, might be able to get the third one, but he misses the shot! And they've lost sight of Grave. Sun Prodigy rotates back over, teleports to the side of the map with Mando, unable to get at the cleanup kill, but just off the mark on that third one with Drunk Diplomat.
Gotta hit those, man. You just gotta hit those. That would have been a massive turnaround. Would have put him in a great position. Just cleanly win out the lane from there. But instead, Grave does find the kill, falls down to Sun Prodigy, who is falling pretty significantly behind Ratsquid on map. Sun Prodigy is just playing so much around that pressure in lanes. He hasn't been spending too much time in his own jungle farming up. Tough stuff, man. And XD01 is just on tour, isn't he? I feel like he's been in side lanes more often than his own lane.
Hadn't been able to put anything on the board just yet, but his presence alone has really been making the impact for Team Khastik. It's 2-0-5 for Sun Prodigy, 100% kill participation so far, but like I said, falling a little bit behind XP-wise. Ratsquid going for the gang on a Drunk Diplomat. Good giddy-up actually pushes him away from what would have been that Feather Step follow-up for Team Khastik. So, Good on Drunk Diplomat for taking the little back step just to guarantee he can get that giddy up knockback and keep himself alive on that rotation.
Yeah, good stuff. Would have at least lost out on a relic if Feather Step connects with him. And so, maintaining those beads, a significant win. Mando as well starting to really push himself into a decent position here. Has now got himself about a half-level lead on XD, just now ticking over to 13. Mando, 13 on his rotation just previously. Itemization difference in mid lane, the exact same as it was in Game 1, so this is just the favored build of each of these players. From here, expect to see a whole lot of parity. If Game 1's to be believed, I believe it was Rada to Hootie in that third slot. Going to be a lot of damage to play with from both these mages. Mando, in particular, with this Divine Ruin pickup, could make it very difficult for Rundus in the Soul lane, could make it really difficult for Malachi, just denying all that sustain. Mando might be one of the most important players on map right now for Team SK PEso.
And he's got such easy application with that Divine Ruin. As mentioned, multiple bombs. Hold that. Drunk Diplomat fine. Sees a Terra walk up, just goes and dashes away. But not only that, something that maybe I don't see out enough Agni players when you start getting to like these really awkward standoffs around objectives. Noxious Fume's pretty short cooldown. Obviously, you don't always want to throw away your potential stun for any kind of damage. But it's such an easy applicator of Divine Ruin. Just toss that one out in the middle of a team real quick. They're going to walk away, and they're going to be anti-healed from it. So it could be a start. SDF, though, leaps into the wave against Rundus. Doesn't realize Ratsquid's around. Goes for the ultimate.
Doesn't care.
Jukes the knockup that would have been there from Ratsquid, and will still continue the fight. 1v2 and winning the fight. 1v2. Feather Step over the Warcry is good and was necessary for Ratsquid. He will be able to get out for now. Dharmic Pillars there, but a bit late. The dual lane has teleported over on this rotation to, I would say, bail out SDF, but I think more than anything, it's just to give him that extra little push that he might need. Sun Prodigy, he spotted out Rundus. Blink, ult, toss him under the tower, taunt in, Deathbane after. Not enough damage on the follow-up, but he's got the auto after and pops him like a balloon. Sun Prodigy, third kill on the board, effective of all 8 so far. Mando's on the way. Ratsquid's right around the corner. Blink in, Feather Step. Aegis was there. Ratsquid, why are you Feather Stepping into the Aegis? Doesn't matter. We'll get the kill, but lost most of his health in response. And oh, guess who's teleported over to this side? It's Super Deathfang, right off a hot from one kill, ready for another one.
Ratsquid's fast, speed buff, and Suku means that there really shouldn't be any way he falls down here. Will make his way back to base. Drunk Diplomat spotted out. No, does not turn that corner fast enough. I think maybe could have, but didn't. And so, Ratsquid makes himself scarce and survives an easy trade with Mando in the jungle. Good response from Team Khastik there. That's exactly what you want to see. If there's 4 people in the Soul lane, Gold Fury is just the way of the road. Great pickup. Mando tries to deny it, but you can't really make that play on your own. You're so squishy on this Agni. Meeting up with Ratsquid, just a death sentence. And really, even had he gotten even any closer to the Gold Fury, it's pretty likely it would have just been a, okay, reset, kill Mando, go back to Gold Fury situation. I think much better off if Mando just clears mid-wave and denies at least a wave there.
Silver lining for Mando. Did pull Ratsquid's beads in the trade. Loses Aegis. But getting the jungler's beads, always a nice little start. And the blink a little bit earlier in the fight as well to kick that one off for Ratsquid. So now down without relics for about 60 seconds. Beads still there for Mando just in case he runs into Ratsquid again. But setting up for the Pyromancer. Team SK PEso. Rundus is on the way. Can he get there in time? No. Crits from Deathbane, more than enough to secure that one for Team SK PEso. So losing out on the Fury on the left side. Gets a nice response for a Pyromancer on right.
For the first time this game, it's Sun Prodigy with the experience lead out of the jungle. Has finally caught up to Ratsquid. Ratsquid, essentially catching up in presence on map, has been leading the way more often than not in that side lane presence. I'm really keeping my eyes on XD, triple goose eggs for the mid laner, but just feels like this Raijin has a lot to offer right now. Charon's coin in that third slot, 20% penetration means these tankier targets on Team SK PEso, and I say tankier, not tanky. Going to be even less now because really there's no dedicated magic defense items on either side. A lot of fizz prods, a lot of side prods. He's fine. He's chill. He's good.
He jumped away.
Yeah, he's fast.
He's got blink. Should be good. It should be. Mando down to 200 HP on the Agni. He's going to be sent back to base. Sun Prod, what is he? Where is he backing? Oh, he's all the way at the enemy speed buff. Yeah, he's fine. He'll head back to base. Tier 1 tower for Team Khastik. A nice little answer back to what Drunk Diplomat's been doing on the left side. Split pushing. Let's take the Tier 1 tower of the duo lane. So a trade out of Tier 1 for Tier 1. Dead even in the gold. Kills close enough. I mean, 8 to 5. The real problem is the fact that it's been Sun Prod who's been effective of all 8 of the kills at this point. 305 for the Circuit. Got that first crit item online with the Rage. Not opting to go into a second crit item just yet, but I gotta imagine Deathbringer's right around the corner for him.
Tier 1 towers traded out in mid, so map opened on both sides. Gonna be real difficult to retreat if a Gold Fury fight or Fire Giant fight starts to go south. J-Mac, I don't want to harp on him. I really don't. We gotta see some more damage from Mando in these fights. I mean, the last 3 engagements I've seen Mando in is him getting forced out and the enemy team being 100% HP walking at him. There needs to be some return damage. Needs some of those Divine Ruins to applicate. Just needs something from this Agni.
Well, I mean, at least good news for now. Drunk Diplomat loses beads. We'll hold the thought I initially had until a little bit later. Maybe who needs the damage from your Agni when Super Deathfang can just run down the enemy mid laner. Had access to Warcry, didn't use it on the Raijin. Instead, wants to use it in the team fight back here. Rat Squid low, Boulder, not quite enough. Masterful shot from Drunk Diplomat, takes down 1. And look at the low health bars in the jungle. They can't get back to this fight to help out. No, push him to tower. Aegis will be enough to save Drunk Diplomat's life. That's a 1-for-1 trade of the junglers. A nice shutdown onto Sun Prodigy, but not enough extra kills either way. Still holding on to that Runic Bomb in pocket is Sun Prod. Didn't have it for anything else, but he's getting dangerously low for a few players on Team Khastik.
First off, Super Deathfang, no notes again. This guy is playing ridiculous. Holds on to his ultimate on the Raijin, realizing best case I get his Aegis, and I'm not killing him afterward, right? So I'll save it for the team fight, get re-involved there, hits 2 with it. Great stuff. Cucullin's doing everything I want from him. XD kites very, very well there. Sun Prodigy tries his best to secure that kill in the backline. Instead, trades out his own life. Wasn't quite able to work through the 3-man wall of Team Khastik. But on the tail end of that engagement, and I don't want to harp on him, man, but if the Agni stun connects, it's another kill, and we're talking about a Gold Fury for Team PEso. Just barely off timing. Goes for that 2-1 combo. The 1 comes out just a little too slow.
Stun off the mark that time because of the Feather Step from Rat Squid. Ends up pulling back Sun Prod. Gets the next round of the Feather Step. Gets the kill this time. Another one for Rat Squid on the board. 4th one of the game for the jungler of Team Khastik. And about a 1,000 gold lead over Team PEso. Not a whole lot here in 19 minutes of the game, but grabbing a Primal Fury will sure be a nice little boot. But you got to keep eyes on this man right here. Super Deathfang on the Cucullin can just walk right in. You've already used the knockup. Gets a double with his ultimate. Still trying to seal this away. Team Khastik gets the Primal Fury, but Super Deathfang going to do his best to distract and take as much time as he can doing so. Rat Squid gets their 5th, finally getting another kill onto Super Deathfang. In response to Team PEso, strip away the right side jungle.
Yeah, they grab the Pyromancer too. Gotta think though, like one more person rotating over to help Super Deathfang. He did 50% of like 5 separate people's HP bars. Run is just a moment too slow there to stop one of those backs. Speaking of, I think Rundus deserves some credit on the last team fight too. The pull to start things off just looks real good for his team. He was separating the fight really well, just didn't have quite as flashy a play as Super Deathfang in the actual 5-on-5 engagement. But now it's Team Khastik in the driver's seat, 3,000 gold in the lead. Could be time to start looking towards that Fire Giant. A whole lot of vision on the right-hand side of the map just yet. It means that we're probably waiting on this Stygian Beacon respawn to force an engagement, or maybe it was just however long it takes to walk from base to Fire Giant itself. Team Khastik showing numbers here. Spotted on the map, though. Team PEso realizing there's at least 3 members in that Fire Giant pit as they clear out the ward in the pit. But no true pool, and they'll show themselves on waves. So Team Khastik not exactly playing it close to the chest here, just trying their best to establish a bit of vision dominance so that they can then look towards the Fire Giant after the fight.
Wonder what in the mind of the mid laners made them swap from Ratatouille to Charon's Coin. Not that Charon's Coin is a bad item, but... And they both went Ratatouille into Soul Reaver last game. Now they're both going Charon's Coin into Soul Reaver this game. Maybe it's just the naturally tankier targets they're fighting up against. At least for the side of Mando. Sun Prodigy actually running into XD01 there in the jungle. Does use the last breath. Puts XD down to about half HP. Will force the Raijin back to base.
Most importantly, forces the beads off that Raijin. So rotations now from Team SK PEso onto the dive could really start to hit pay dirt on XD, who has gone undying so far this game, having himself a very good time playing real far back in that back line. Low damage output from the Raijin as well, though. Means that even though he's been safe, has still been mitigated in his efficacy in the team fight. Hasn't been allowed to cast in that back line. I think XD should be willing a little bit more so to try and just force out some relics with his ultimate, or even act as a pseudo-initiator. Some taunts on a Mando or taunts onto any of the carries from downtown should be enough to set up for the rest of his team, but has not been given that opportunity just yet. Both teams now just kind of maneuvering the map, jockeying for position, trying to find any sort of opening. An individual pick could very well just lead to the Fire Giant immediately. This is interesting. I don't think Rat Squid sees him.
Let's say, I don't know if Rat Squid knows. Oh no, he got hit by that taunt. Last breath is there. Sun Prod's not going to jump in to try and secure the kill this time, so Rat Squid down. 20% HP, will have to go back to base. Will we see the immediate pull towards Fire? No, it seems to be Beacon the call for Team SK PEso. Super Deathfang waiting on that level 20 mark. So we can go back and get that starter item upgrade, get that Bluestone up to its next tier. So will be Beacon for Team SK PEso. And back to farming for the squad. Trying to hit that level 20 mark. Very important for a few of these players.
Yeah, Super Deathfang in particular, I feel like, is going to be unleashed once that Bluestone gets finished up. About a half level needed for him. 300 experience, excuse me. So won't be too far off. Team Khastik can try and make something happen before that happens. Super Deathfang spots it out. Fire Giant 90%. Not exactly burning fast either.
Pulled back in by the gravity surge. Rat Squid finds a nice pick on Super Deathfang with the help of the team, and now Team Khastik can regroup around the Fire Giant, started up once more. Now their big frontliner is off the table. Team Khastik feel comfortable going for this objective pull. Runda's trying to zone SK Pace on the rest of the team, but Sunprod is waiting around the corner. That last breath is back online. If he can find a pick on a carry on the jungler, could completely turn this team fight. Psycho Drums used offensively from XD01. Team Khastik get the Fire Giant, and look at Mando's health. He's almost dead before he can even jump into the fight. He gets hit by the Raiju, and one auto from Grave takes him down. Thunder Crash in by XD takes down SK PEso. 3 off the board for Team SK PEso, and it's Team Khastik with Fire and Pyromancer.
Surprised to see Team SK PEso play around the steal there instead of trying to get involved and take the fight in the pit. Sun Prodigy tries his absolute best to just go for a crit steal on the Fire Giant. Unfortunately for him, I think does land the auto attack, doesn't get the crit. So Fire Giant will go the way of Team Khastik, loses his life. Mando sticks around a little bit too long. 20 seconds on 2 respawns, and mid-Phoenix, it's not going to last that long.
Phoenix gone for Team Khastik. They'll take their bird back out. Oni Fury on the map and available, so they'll likely head their way towards that objective. Not too much on Team SK PEso that can really stop this one. Or they can find a pick inside the jungle, maybe go for a little bit more. Boulder double taps Sun Prod and Drunk Diplomat. Forces both of them back to base. And they were already sitting at just at the footholds of their base. So this should all guarantee this Fury now for Team Khastik as they head right to Oni Fury, and they can head back to base and reset.
Some enhanced minion waves working their way across the maps, pressure out that Soul lane. Imagine we've seen Team Khastik just reset and get ready to start pushing down the left-hand side. Base defense is not bad from Team SK PEso. Really good space control from titular SK PEso himself. The Ganesh can do a whole lot here. Mando should be able to keep those minion waves out with relative ease. The only one that's really going to struggle on base defense is Surcat. Just not a lot to be done on Surcat. You can get in the back line, you can apply the ultimate, but you're probably going to die for it. Surcat really thrives in 1v1 engagements or catching someone out in the jungle. When the game simplifies in this 5v5 under a structure, Surcat, for the most part, is just kind of hanging out and waiting for the team fight to either go really well, so she could be the best at chasing as fastest member of the map, or really poorly and fall all the way back towards her own Titan room. So we'll keep our eyes on Sun Prodigy in particular. Siege from Team Khastik, though, strong. You've got non-committal initiation from Rundis. A pull onto anybody is going to result in a death. We've seen it now. Just the knock-up into a gravity surge enough to shut down Super Death Fang, and he won't have an answer to that literally ever. No CC immunity available to him in Relics. If you're already knocked up, Gravity Surge is going to connect no matter what, so it would have to be a reaction ultimate to whatever knockup comes his way. Maybe he could elect to pick up a Magi's in last slot, but it's going to be a ways off.
Redstone available now for Super Death Fang. Gonna get a lot more value diving into the backline for these team fights. Sunprod hits 20, gets their starter item. I was wondering if he's going to upgrade into starter or maybe go for the Deathbringer in place, but because he's going to get a little bit more value from the upgraded starter. Sitting stealth right around the wall. Seeing who will step forward in this fight. I wonder if Team Khastik even knows that he's sitting there, if they got eyes on him at all. If they know that he dropped down at that stealth. I think now they definitely know. Force him away. Meanwhile, Rundis is split pushing right side. Keeping Super Death Fang busy, and that's probably the best person to keep out of these fights. Rat Squid jumps in, doesn't get the landing shot for the kill, misses the timing on the gravity surge. Sun Prod will get to live, but the rest of the team fight's going pretty south on the opposite side. 3 players nearly dead on both teams. There'll be a Thunder Crash in from XD. Mando low. Mando just alive. Not quite enough damage from the Raiju. It'll be a left side Phoenix for Team Khastik and a pick on Super Death Fang.
That's tough stuff. Sun Prodigy forced to use the beads by Rat Squid ultimate, so doesn't have it for the fight. Super Death Fang forced to use his ultimate to defend right side Phoenix up against Rundis. Was able to keep the bird up, but TPs into the back line of the team fight. Drops 2 targets to 5% HP. Gotta think if he had the ultimate, that's all of their HP. And so, great play from Rundis to burn a phenomenal team fight resource off of Team SK PEso. And does finally hit Pater as they knock down that left side bird. Mid Phoenix going to be coming back up relatively shortly, so Team SK PEso going to at least have 2/3 of their base maintained, but things are going to get worse before they get better. That left side Phoenix, the most difficult to defend while simultaneously showing presence around the Fire Giant itself. We're approaching that 30-minute mark. Fire Giant will spawn before 30 minutes, truthfully, but if Team Khastik so decides, and I think they should, could just wait it out and get the EFG.
You have a few seconds before that Fire Giant's back up. But left side Phoenix down. That's a tough one for Team SK PEso to stay here for too long. You leave the Kakullan there. Let SDF just clear out those waves and TP in once he's ready to join the fight. You can't stand around too long when fire minions are still pushing up that lane. Mid has respawned. Just regular minions pushing in. But Rat Squid's going to go up along with that minion wave. Might be able to just sneak this Phoenix away. Right in front of the nose of Team SK PEso. They're all so focused on this Fire Giant that they're only just now going to see that Rat Squid's not part of the fight. In fact, Sun Prodigy's going back to play defense, but it's going to be too little too late. That Phoenix is going to go down, and so is most of Mando's HP. Half health already gone. 1v1 between the junglers. Pull back in. It's a solo kill for Rat Squid, and he might just go back to try and end this game. Everybody on Team SK PEso has to walk back to try and defend. Stun not quite there because of the bead. Centaurus off the mark, but that Titan, 25% health, and Fire Giant, not even enhanced this time, will go to Team Khastik.
I'm telling you, man, that a Wheelish versus Surcat 1v1 is so contingent on 2 factors. Does a Wheelish have beads? If yes, you're going to lose the fight. There's nothing Surcat can do. And 2, did Surcat have an opportunity to use her leap without getting it ulted? If no, you're losing your beads every single time as well. So it's just completely favored to Rat Squid. Titan, 50%. Rundis is just working on it.
Let's walk right in. Should be able to take this one for Team Khastik and push us to game number 3 here on this guaranteed qualifying to LAN match. Remember, winner of this one goes to Grand Finals tomorrow. They get the guaranteed spot at the LAN to join our already qualified EMEA team of iDavy. And Team Khastik putting up a pretty good fight here. Thought it was maybe a little bit doom and gloom as soon as that Kakullan gets locked in. But the quick adaptations from Rat Squid in this game to just instantly start putting pressure on that soul lane. Massive swing of adaptation for this team.
Yeah, I got to give some credit over towards Grave as well. It was a few solo kills, I believe, in his direct lane opponent. And that was a lane opponent that was handed 3 kills in the first 3 minutes, double kill first blood on top of it. I believe was already stacking Transcendence by the 2-minute mark. You'd expect your Chiron to be able to handle his own in lane from that position. Simply wasn't the case. Grave fights back in very, very well, creates a little bit of space for his team.
Now, comes back to SK PEso to see what change-ups get made for game number 3. And we'll get to bring you the action for game 3 right after this break.
She got cheats, she got smiles, she got business on the side. She got treats for them guys when a baby out of town. Got cheats, got size, funny business on her mind. She's so pleased with her life, mind her business out my mind. Got a tree top, swinging my visa, put up a cool. With the party, sipping her coffee, I pick up. With the kid out, she too weird, I like a tattoo. Then it funny, but I wonder, hey, how many times can you say no winner than true? How low can you go to get back in your one baby boo? How low can you go? I wanted some land, I wanted some nigga move. But you on the train and I want this going to chew. She got cheats, she got smiles, she got business on the side. She got cheats for them guys when a baby out of town. Got cheats, got size, funny business on her mind. She's so pleased with her life, mind her business on my mind. Miss a tea time, leaning like in pizza. Put them knees down, squeeze it like a prison. Got the teeth done, had to fill the crease up. Saw this niggas by the door and realized it was time to go. Weighted blankets couldn't come for me. I'll need more to ever catch a seat. I can't wonder what I didn't see. She a damn good thief. She got cheats, she got smiles, she got business on the side. She got cheats for them guys when a baby out of town. Got cheats, got size, funny business on her mind. She's so pleased with her life, mind her business on my mind.
It's finally time to give you all an esports update. We're excited to announce our first attended live esports event of SMITE 2 will be at the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas, January 17th to 19th. Qualifications for the event will begin during the fall of 2024, so start forming your teams and preparing for the competition. Make sure you check out the SMITE 2 esports website and Discord to stay updated on the latest information regarding the qualification path. Tickets for the Las Vegas event will go on sale later on this year. Head over to SMITE esports website and make sure you register your interest in attending the event to get further information the moment it becomes available. We'll see you all in Las Vegas.
That's right, we're going to Vegas at the start of next year for SMITE 2. So if you want to go to the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas, you want a chance to play at the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas, well, get SMITE 2, get ready for some esports to start breaking down, and go over to smiteesports.com/Vegas for more information leading up to the event January 17th through 19th, the SMITE 2 Founder Series in Las Vegas. Sure to be an exciting time for players and fans alike as we get ready to start kicking into the era of SMITE 2 esports. So again, make sure to smiteesports.com/Vegas for all the information towards that. I'm Jay Mack. I got Mifflin still joining me here on the desk. We get ready for game number 3. Annotations made in game number 2 for the side of Team Khastik. They shut down Super Deathfang a bit early in the game, made it to where he wasn't the unkillable monster late game, found some fight back in that dual lane specifically as well as after he's going disastrously in the duo to kick things off. I think it was 3 kills that went into that duo in just the first couple of minutes of play. And I think maybe the answer that I'd like to see back is, what do you put Mando on to make him feel comfortable in these games? Because game number 1 didn't do a whole lot on the Scylla. Game number 2 did more damage on the Agni, but just didn't feel like he was an impactful damage in that game.
Yeah, does match up in damage with his direct lane opponent in game 2, so I think, could some of these things been better? I think so, but certainly not the absolute worst performance on the planet from Mando. I think more credit belongs to Team Khastik for their wide sweeping identity change in composition. This is a much more aggressive draft in game 2. They chose lanes that should be able to win out in their direct lane opponents. They chose a jungler that can get involved very early on and a great counter matchup into that Surcat. Rat Squid maintaining about a 2 to 3 level lead for the first 15 or so minutes of the game. Prodigy, of course, not really emphasizing farm in his own gameplay, was really getting involved in that duo lane. Unfortunately for him, even with Drunk Diplomat starting off the game by that 4-minute mark with a 3-0 kill lead, wasn't quite able to solidify a foothold in the lane. Grave able to fight back in on that on her. Makes it look pretty simple there. So, if anything, seems like current meta dictates it's an aggressive meta. You want to play for lane dominance. You want to play for high pressure. You want to be able to look towards some of those early objectives. And that's another thing that goes really poorly for Team PEso is that 4-man rotation over towards the soul lane that nets them, I believe, 1 kill. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but they lose the Gold Fury, then they lose Mando, then they lose a tier 1 tower, and I think the Pyromancer to boot.
One big thing that I liked seeing from Rundus in game number 2, and maybe we see it a little bit for game number 3, picks and bans, was to swap away from the Fenrir and onto the Hercules. While Hercules maybe not the cream of the crop pick for the solo lane, it gives him something where he doesn't have to commit his entire body to start an initiation. Hercules, much easier. Walk up, hit 2. If you grab somebody, cool, now you can kick the fight off. If you didn't, oh well, I'll back up 10 seconds later, I can just do it again. So I like the swap there for Rundus. Get something naturally tanky or something he can play a little bit further up, but still have that same level of impact if he does manage to hit that combo to start a team fight off.
So we'll see. Team PEso seems to think Rundus on that Hercules is something they want to deal with immediately, and so they'll ban that one out themselves. The Ixchel has been a constant in the ban column. Fafnir joins it up from Team Khastik. Don't want to play against Peso's Fafnir. And then Kamazot's has been a constant as well. We'll see if there's any respect towards that Kakullen. It's not even like you necessarily need to play Kakullen to find that hyper-aggression out of the soul lane. There are a few picks that I think fit that role very well. Things like Thor solo, I think, have a very good home in the current meta. So it will be the Medusa, something you were talking about at the top of the day. That god just does crazy damage if you go for ability Medusa. If she's got a blue stone, feels like one shot of Viper shot is doing like 60% of people's HP.
Yeah, as somebody who had to play against a Medusa last night, it was not a fun time playing up against that god. It just does so much damage, as you mentioned, Bluestone. And you don't even have to go into the full ability style. Like, Medusa's one of those weird hunters right now where it feels like almost any build she goes is viable if you want to go towards the more traditional hunter style and go crit with attack speed. Fine. If you want to go full ability style, fine. If you want to mix and match the two of them into one, it also works out well. Just such a versatile god. And that increase to her movement speed, I think people forget that the base movement speed increase she got is so much more impactful as well. Just because you can sidewind her with her passive, now you can strafe side to side even faster. And I think it puts her up there as like third fastest god in the game behind like Vamana and Mercury.
Yeah, very fast, very mobile, has really good boxing potential. Feels like if you're just standing in lane at max distance with the enemy hunter, she's going to have an advantage because of, again, that sidestep mobility that she has from her passive. Not going to be locked in this time as it has been banned out by Team Khastik. Instead, we will have an equally aggressive hunter locked in on her. Back at it again for Grave and Team Khastik. That is a lot of pressure in the duo lane. CC immunity does seem to be a bit susceptible to early rotations, if Sun Prodigy is to be believed from game number 2. But here's the thing, man. Even from 2 levels down, on current patch, with HP as it is and defense as it is, On her can fight back in. He's got that much damage in his ultimate. He's got that much damage in his kit. So if you want to shut someone down, you got to really, really keep them behind. I'm talking three levels, maybe 4 levels, an entire item, something along those lines. Triple kill First Blood wasn't enough to put the Chiron ahead last time.
Well, this is a bit of a shift up here for Team SMITE. Nothing changed on Team Khastik. Pulled up the same dual lane on her Terra. No problems with that one. It was a rough level, like 3 to 6 for them, and then outside of that, dual lane was just fine. But taking the Wheelish now away from Ratsquid, putting it onto Sun Prodigy, and then drafting Horus for SMITE gives him a lot of aggression over in that support role. It's going to allow him to do quite a bit of extra damage. The prot shred you get from that second ability is so much more valuable now that everyone's protections are just a little bit lower throughout the early courses of the game. But this does leave open a guy that's been banned consistently so far in this first set. Lancelot goes over to Team Khastik.
I like the Horus pickup, a little bit sustained for your team, a consistent knock-up to set up for that gravity surge. But it does change up the rest of the draft now. You're probably looking at a single mage or a single magical damage source for Team SMITE. And if you were really concerned about just setting up for that Wheelish, you got to think something like Sobek could have had a pretty decent home here too. It has anti-heal built into the kit with Sickening Strike, plays well into that Terra, has a just as, if not more, consistent knock-up with Tail Whip and Charge Prey as consistent initiation. The difference being Horus has team-wide healing as opposed to self-sustain, and he's also got the ability to reposition his entire team. That's something that is very, very valuable. Maybe you took a fight on the Gold Fury, but you want to fight just hard enough that if you were already at the Fire Giant, you'd be able to grab it. Horus makes that hypothetical a reality with his To the Skies ultimate. And he also has a little bit of defense shred to play with. So if you are playing a 4 physical draft, it doesn't feel as bad so long as Horus is landing his abilities.
A little bit of split on the bans here. Hunter bans for Team Khastik. Chiron taken away now. Drunk Diplomat had to play something new for the first time this set. And then a Heimdall ban as well. Another powerful Hunter over in that dual lane for the time. Opposite side, Team SMITE split their bans between who they want to focus on. I think XD001 did a good job on the Raijin last time. Banned that mage away. And then targeting Rundus by going for his Jormungandr. One of the few players in North America still kind of running towards this god, even with the changes, the buffs that Jorm got. Didn't quite see the uptick that maybe a lot of players were expecting with some of the buffs that way, but Rundus has been just playing this god for quite some time, so taking away one of his namesakes and taking the Hercules away they performed on well last time, now puts in an Osiris pick for the side of Team Khastik. Now, if we were one patch ago, I think maybe this question is a little bit tougher to answer, but being in the new reverted 9.5 era, is there viability for the Osiris jungle compared to the Lancelot now?
Do you remember what happened? What that World Championship, the pre-TTK change World Champion looked like? It was a bunch of Gilgamesh jungle, there was some Erlong Shen jungle, and there was Osiris jungle. So I think the chop mannequins, I'm going to deal like all of your HP in 3 seconds flat from levels 1 through like 10 style of jungle is back a bit. I don't think Osiris is the best pick for that right now. I've seen Erlong, I've seen Gilgamesh. I think those two perform a lot more consistently out of the jungle than Osiris does, just by nature of how their CC applies. So if I had to guess, I think we are likely looking at an Osiris solo lane. Osiris is just fine, I think. Not exactly the complete dominant force that we used to associate him with. I think really benefited from like the Equinox Death Toll build where you could just sit in lane forever. These long, drawn-out, high TTK auto-attack trades kind of favored Osiris because he has so much sustain options built into his item path. Not exactly the case anymore. I'll be excited to see how he decides to build. Could be that we're looking at like a standard Warriors Axe poke Osiris where he is able to just leverage Sickle going through minions now and plays a standard solo laner. Doesn't exactly have high kill pressure, I don't think.
Baba Yaga.
Okay, I was seeing the Aphrodite hover. Didn't think that one was going to get locked in, but this does make a 4 Fizz draft for Team SK PEso with the Uller now confirmed for the squad. So Uller, Baba Yaga, bottom 2 for Team SK PEso. Baba Yaga still fine at this point. Still definitely one of those more late game slanted style of gods, but with the double flat pen style of build, just about any mage is able to hit pretty hard at this stage. And with Baba, getting access to double potion means you can have that extra bit of burst. So what is now the answer for Team Khastik? Plenty of mages up. When you think about all the ones that have been getting banned away, Vulcan, Thoth, still available, Agni, even just from last game, if you want to take a page out of Mando's book and pull that one away from him, something that easily that XD001 can go into. So we'll see where Team Khastik goes for their final mage pick. Currently hovering the Thoth, and that just gives them plenty of long-range artillery-style poke. Ton of damage as well. If you remember back a few years ago when Thoth was running the meta and you were taking 2,000 damage for a shot, losing literally your entire health bar, it's back, baby, and just as strong as ever.
Has the potential to legitimately 100-0 you with his ultimate. A full-charged ultimate, like 2 slotted in the build. I think I was watching, I believe it was Ven playing. He went for like Doom Orb, Desolation, bought a red pot, walked into mid, charged his ultimate, and just deleted the other guy on the map. Just sniped him out of his own tower from 100% HP. So Thoth in a pretty decent spot right now. Also one of the better applicators of Divine Ruin. Should have a pretty decent time into the initiation style of Team SK PEso. So much of it's going to be off the back of Blink to Cullen Ult. Horus is pretty good, but he's only really good from ahead. Otherwise, it is just a standard single target initiation that puts yourself at risk. From ahead, you can do that over and over and nobody cares. From behind, you stun one guy and maybe you've died or you've taken too much HP loss to continue the fight from there. So I'll be keeping my eyes on the early game in particular for Team SK PEso. The Ul has always been a concerning pick for me. That god is just about as feast or famine as they come. Could have himself a phenomenal game where we're talking about how Ul's back, 100-0 meta, land the axe is the win condition. Or it could be that he just has a rough time in the laning phase and is never allowed to play that aggressive styling. Onher's going to have just enough damage, I think, to be able to box up against him relatively well, but also have the advantage in just auto attacks thanks to his passive. So I'll be keeping my eyes on that. I think if Team SK PEso falls behind, if SDF doesn't get to have just a free laning phase, if the side lanes aren't looking good, this is going to be a game where they really struggle come team fight time. Whereas Team Khastik, they've drafted strong team fight, strong laning phase. The only real concern is this Osiris for me. I just feel like he'll hold his own in lane, but he's not exactly going to impress anybody. Otherwise, the Thoth free farming to late game is going to be really intimidating. Lancelot's been permabanned. I haven't had too many opportunities to watch him play or play as him since the most recent TTK changes, so I can't exactly say how strong he is, but my Smite brain hypotheticals are saying he's probably pretty good right now. Team Khastik, I think, have got themselves a really good composition.
Yeah, so it's going to come on to Team SK PEso to really get themselves out ahead early. As mentioned, you kind of get this Horus kick-started over in that dual lane, and then see how that transitions to the late game. I think a lot of eyes are going to be mostly in this dual lane for Team SK PEso. How can the Horus and the Uller combo really stack up? If you hit somebody with the Horus stun, they should be dead in this dual lane. As long as there isn't some minion blocking the way of an axe toss.
You don't even want an axe toss. You're saving the axe. It's
fair enough.
Fracture connects, hail of arrow, bladed arrow. I'm going to be walking at them the whole time, and if they dash away afterward, I'll have my leap and my axe for the chase. You don't want to follow up CC with CC there.
Fair enough. We'll see if the dual lane can come up ahead for SK PEso. We'll see if Team Khastik, after a rough Game 1, can get their bounce back here in Games 2 and Game 3 as we get ready to jump into that third game. See which team is going to guarantee their qualification spot to the LAN in just a few weeks. It's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug one more time and one final time for this set between Team SK PEso and Team Khastik. Now, I will just peel back curtain a bit. Chat's been hyping up this Uller pick a little bit for Drunk Diplomat, saying maybe one of his better picks, so we'll be keeping some eyes on this Uller to see if Drunk Diplomat can live up to the expectations and the hype of the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, he has been a big believer so far in just ability-based hunters. Has not gone for any auto attackers. It's been Chiron and Ull now locked in for him. Worst case scenario, Ull does have the potential to just like hang out as far away as possible and just tag wave with Hail of Arrow if Grave finds himself in a dominant position. So there's a little bit more safety associated with the Uller. Additional movement speed in the axe form, as well as having a standard leap, means that he should be able to get out of a lot of these stickier situations. And you're not concerned with a wheelish catching the leap each time. I'm, for the most part, really keeping my eyes on this Lancelot. I think up until this point has been banned out in the set. I've seen a lot of rumblings from some of the more notable content creators in this tournament about just how good Lancelot is. So I've got high expectations of Rat Squid.
I think keeping eyes on the jungle is going to be a big one. We saw our Rat Squid was able to do on the Wheelish in game 2. I'll see how Sun Project perform on it in game number 3. Already starting to make the rotations are both the junglers to this side of the map. Sun Prod would be first on the scene if he continued the rotation, but maybe a call out from the mid laners that both are heading that way. So both junglers actually pull a 180 in their tracks, head straight back to the mid lane instead. I guess we'll just go ahead and farm up for these mid camps. Usually when we get to game 3s like this, even though this isn't technically an elimination game, we usually see the game slow down. Not quite seeing that right now. Grave down about 200 HP, healing back in, leaping from Drunk Diplomat. Misses the axe toss though. Not going to have that follow-up damage. Stun is good on the Malachi. Knock-up combo immediately after by PEso. A lot of shots thrown in this dual lane, but so far, no blood spilled.
Grave needs to play careful there. Leaps to avoid the axe. Any bit of poke going his way. It's really going to start to stick. Only has 2 potions left. Only 1 for Drunk Diplomat on the other side is Malachi. Takes a little bit of damage. But this Terra, playing really well around the sustain so far, has been healing himself up and Grave up really well. And keep your eyes on Rat Squid. First rotation to duo.
Rat Squid on the scene. Just gonna gallop over to speed or the shield buff instead. Try and guarantee that for the squad. PEso had an ability loaded up in the chamber, throw it out, but a little bit too late to try and steal that one away. So rotation from Rat Squid is only just to net that shield buff. Not gonna get any real big pressure from dual lane otherwise. We do see Sun Prod rotate to the right side of the map. No cooldown buff, but does have that Serpent Camp with the Naga, so we'll be able to drop that one down. And take the life of the Meteor. Grave getting hit by a bit of the combo from PEso, but good monolith there from Malachi on the Terra. Keeps a lot of the damage from Drunk Diplomat from being able to get there.
Yeah, Drunk Diplomat's going to run into a mana issue here shortly. Doesn't have a whole lot to play with. No more multi-pots means it's just the MP5 he's relying on. So could be that we see him just go ahead, dump kit a few more times, then try and reset back to base, get a tier 2 Transcendence, or alternatively, just start holding on to some of that mana and wait for some better opportunities. We'll see. I don't imagine we see Team Khastik get aggressive anytime soon, though. No potions available to either of the dual laners on their side.
DC Super Death Fang tried to steal blue, didn't get so stunned. Out Sun Prod on the scene, Knock'em is there, pull back in with a gravity surge. One more auto, it's Super Death Fang to claim first blood and make it double for SDF. The leap in on top of Rat Squid gets a early double kill and first blood for Team PEso.
That bodes well for PEso and the boys. SDF has been the win condition in every single one of their engagements that has gone well. It's almost been entirely off the back of this Kakalin and his initiations. And starting him off with a double kill first blood seems like a real good start. I'm no scientist. I'm not going to disrespect that profession by making analytical analysis based off of facts, but that's good.
It's a good, maybe even a great start.
Are you a scientist?
I'm not a scientist.
Well, then let's not, disrespect the profession then.
So I said maybe. Just a little maybe. No, I was a graphic designer. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Designed graphics.
I did indeed. I think my my one really cool, really fun thing I got to do was I got to help publish a book for a museum. That's about it.
Is it a museum that we would have known about?
The Panhandle Plains Museum in Canyon, Texas.
Isn't the Panhandle in Oklahoma?
There's also the Panhandle for Texas. They're connected.
Whatever, man.
One looks more like an actual panhandle. That'd be Oklahoma.
Yeah, I don't believe you, actually.
It's just what it's called up there. That's just the... Look, I'm just speaking the name of the museum and where it's located.
Talk to me about the name of these players and where they are located on the map, buddy.
Sun Prodigy located at the enemy Shaman camp gets smacked by a final judgment from XD.
Bro,
nearly
stop.
goes down, jumps away from Rat Squid, who's galloping the opposite direction on the horse. Sun Prod playing with fire, able to pull his way from the oven just in time.
That was an ill-thought-out invade 2v1 that almost goes Sun Prodigy's way off of pure chutzpah. That was just aura from Sun Prodigy. I was speaking Yiddish for a moment there. Crazy stuff, man. He should have died.
Yes, he should have.
Should have been dead for doing that. I'd argue Final Destination rules. He owes death something here.
Sun Prod, Super Death Fang, 2v2 at enemy blue once more. Double dash from the Lance and an ult out just in case. Because right now, Team Khastik losing this 2v2. Can they steal the blue buff this time is the question. Don't think Rundus is going to try and put any effort to stopping that one.
He might come at the speed. Prodigy, you know you want to try.
Prodigy.
Go, come on, yeah.
Go
no,
for
no,
it.
no.
Mid laner's on the way. Mid laner's on the way. This is a bit too dangerous for Sun Prod.
Didn't stop him last time. Come on, Prod.
He's really, really wanting to. But he's gonna play it safe. Look, this is guaranteed LAN qualifying match on the line. You gotta play a little safer.
Yeah, I'm mad at XD for making the correct play of helping out on that speed buff. Because if he's not there, Prodigy's making the mental crushing play every single day of the week. Instead, just going to go ahead and reset back to neutral, get back to farming. Already in such a good position on this Awilish. We'll head back to base, finish up that Jotuns. Likely start getting involved over in that dual lane. Thought we'd see more from the dual lane at this point, but has been, for the most part, slow farming. Drunk Diplomat's been leveraging the poke potential of PEso really well. It's been Fracture into a knock-up into Hail of Arrow, Bladed Arrow on repeat, and that's forced Grave back, I believe, twice now, which is where we're starting to see some of this experience lead come from. And on Transcendence finish, maybe that experience lead and poke potential turns into kill potential.
Ooh, Drunk Diplomat falling low. Rat Squid on the way. Horisult misses Drunk Diplomat, but does get the beads. Rat Squid pulled back by Sun Prod. Featherstep wasn't there. Ultimate used by Rat Squid in response.
It's defensive ultimate number 3, by the way.
He's used one offensively against Mando. It got his beads, and ever since then, it has been defensive from Rat Squid.
Yeah, I'm thinking if I'm Sun Prodigy, I'm starting to get mad about it too. I'm starting to get a little angry. Like, how would you ult? Yeah, like, dig your heels in, coward. We've been banning that pick for 2 games in a row now. We let it through, and you're gonna play it scared. Maybe this next item for Rat Squid will change things up. Gotta just it's not a soul, like, no way it's a soul eater.
I've been seeing a lot of soul eater in the
jungle.
jungle.
Soul eater second slot though. If I'm soul eating, I'm gonna start eating them early. You know?
Usually you do get it a bit earlier, but I mean, Jotuns is just so good. Come on, man.
I'm buying
jungler.
Jotuns.
Like, Jotuns has gotta be first item.
They've spent 13 years on that stinky little design team trying to trick us junglers into buying something else in that first slot. And here's the thing, man. You could change Jotun's color. You can change the stats on it. You can refuse to give it a passive. Every tier 2 item in the game gets a passive. Jotun's doesn't. And I'm still buying it first, and they can't stop me.
Sun Prod, 3v3 now at blue. We've added supports to the mix. Oh, just throw the mid laners in there. Why not? Have a full little blood feud battle over by blue buff. Rundus losing out on this trade. SDF does get the transform. PEso used the ultimate. Where will he go with it? It's aggressively in, but it's 2 versus 3. That's not enough to scare SDF. He still goes in. XD holding on to ult. Offensive ultimate by Rat Squid this time, but doesn't cost him his life yet. It's Mando who goes down. Big damage from XD01, but Sun Prod finds the follow-up kill. Rundus gonna chase down. SDF needs damage, needs a few more autos and an ability. Will go down. Rundus gonna back. Malachi low, but won't die here. 2-for-1 trade goes in favor of Team Khastik.
XD doing a whole lot of work there. Nice pillar stun from Grave, who had the Aussie passive procced. We'll just force out Drunk Diplomat once more. Things are dangerous. Grave's not as safe as you might expect here, and Axe Toss could have cost him his life, but if Hail of Arrows does not land, It's a thin knife's edge these two are navigating in the dual lane as well. But got to talk about what happens there, and it's Team Khastik finding themselves a nice little team fight win. Not enough to catch them back up as a team, but enough to take a little chunk out of that XP lead.
Bit of disconnect from SKPeso and the rest of the team onto what they want to do with that ultimate. SK says, I want to go in. Super Death Fang says, okay, sure, I'll jump on in.
And he did a lot of damage.
He did a lot, but gotta think if Sun Prod or Mando join in with them, they get a whole lot more, but
no way.
I'll do so. Sun
Defensive
Prod
ult,
gets
do
the feathers. Doesn't
Too
even
slow.
get a chance at defensive ult. It sets the field in place. And that's just his own burial ground at that point. Rat Squid put down by a solo kill out of Sun Prod. SDF fighting against Rundus, maybe trying to look for a solo kill of his own, but not when you're missing the push afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, SDF's got a pretty significant advantage in the 1v1 just by nature of having Bluestone, HP Shield, and Rundus had elected to go down that Frostbound path, so he doesn't have nearly as enough, as much defense as SDF, who is also benefiting from the constant damage of Mystical Mark on top of Vent Anger. So there is a lot of damage coming Rundus' way frequently. The same cannot be said of SDF, who should, at this point, just have a free run in this laning phase. Maybe if we had seen like a Phalanx pickup, or if it were Death's Toll, Rundus could stick around in that engagement a little bit longer, but simply not the case.
Rat Squid helps clear out the blue buff. Might be the first spawn of blue since the first that we haven't seen a massive grouping on that side of the map, that corner over anything. So Rundus happy to fight over that one. Sun Prod not done with the battle just yet. Goes for an ult in mid lane. Pulls XD01 in. Doesn't get the kill this time. The follow-up from Mando not quite there. He's already gone back to base. Just setting up for pressure around the beacon. Just over 30 seconds till that one jumps in. Right now, Team SKPeso have the pressure for the objective.
I want to confirm that vision, and they get it. Oracle's over to Team SKPeso, so spot the rotation from Grave there. Won't be able to sneak up on anybody from there. Drunk Diplomat considers a rotation himself, but thinks better of it. Instead, gonna send some of that poke Graves' way, and that's good poke.
Grave jumps over the wall. Managed to catch SKPeso with the leap, so delays his death for just a moment.
Gold.
But SDF's on this side of the map. Teleport's been used. He's ready for battle. Same with Sun Prod against XD01. Does put the thought down to half HP. Gold Fury set up for Team SKPeso. Rat Squid thinking about trying to steal this one away. Gold Fury goes down at Team SKPeso, and they'll go right over to the beacon. Stops Malachi from being able to cap that one. And sets up for a great fight on the other side of the jungle. Rat Squid walks into death. Mando gets the kill he's been waiting for this game, taking down the enemy jungler.
Another great ult from XD. This time only connects with SKPeso, who survives with sub 100 HP. That was a long charge to the skies, but confirms the Gold Fury and sets them up to grab the Stygian Beacon as well. And Team SKPeso beginning to outpace Team Khastik all the way across the map. And you know what the difference is, J-Mac? You know the sole difference? I think it's just that SDF had a free laning phase again. He didn't get ganked 4 times in a row, so he starts winning out in his fights. He's playing around that blue buff invade in the 1v1, and he's been rotating across the map, making it miserable for literally everybody. Sun Prodigy as well has just been doing it to Rat Squid, which is, you know, not exactly conducive to a good Rat Squid game, but maybe I'm just maybe I'm a fan. Put me on the SDF fan club.
I think you and a lot of members in chat would be first to form that fan club there. This Lance is just, speaking honestly, not done a whole lot this game. Has had
Hold on.
one offensive ultimate.
I gotta fact check you. Doug, let me see the damage. I'm going down.
Keep
going.
going,
Down. All
keep
right.
going.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Fourth.
you know, yeah, fourth lowest, you know. Someone's got to be in the lowest ones. You know, someone's got to be there.
Someone's always got to be bottom damage. Usually it's the supports.
Not this time.
But in this case, no, the supports are 7th and 5th. 6th. Sorry, 6th and 8th. I can't count.
It's all right. They're moving around. Well, plausible deniability, it moved.
That's what we'll go with.
No, you can't count.
No, I just
Dummy.
can't count. No, that's just a factual statement, is I can't count.
This guy used to be an engineer, gang.
Can you believe it? They let me work with electrical
I
equipment.
would never let you wire my electricals. I don't know how to. Is that what they say? Stay away from my microwave, J-Mac.
Yeah, don't worry. I ain't messing with your microwave at all.
Better
I might put a plug there for your microwave, but that's about it.
Yeah, don't touch it.
I won't. I will stay clear away from your electrical equipment, Mifflin. But instead, we'll stick around here in the game.
Okay.
Team
What you
SK
got?
PEso, about 2K up right now over Team Khastik. Pressure in every single lane. SDF 3-1. Whoa,
Yo.
whoa, he was not expecting the wheelers around the wall. Clothesline by Sun Prodigy. You thought you were going to make an aggressive play, and Sun Prod said, no, sir. Drunk Diplomat, hey, you need some help, Sun Prod. Help your boy out a little bit. He gets popped like a balloon. Goodbye to Drunk Diplomat. SK PEso on the way. And the support and jungler showdown. XTO want to be the first mid laner on the scene, but the damage is just gross from Sun Prod and SK.
That is so tough. Prodigy doesn't get involved early enough, and I'm going to talk over this because there's no way Rundus gets this kill. Sorry, I stopped talking because I thought he might get the kill. The reason Sun Prodigy doesn't get involved in the secondary fight faster is that Grand Joust Cripple Field literally removes half of his kit. So he just has to wait for it to go away before he can walk in, go for the Feather Step and things like that. So unfortunate there. Drunk Diplomat decides to juke around inside the field instead of just getting out of it and allowing Sun Prodigy to help him out. But we're beating around the bush. Let's talk about the real stuff. Grave decided to jump in aggressively and got pulled over the wall at his own purple buff. That is a mental crushing moment and hilarious. Just so funny, actually. Tough stuff, man. Loses beads and Aegis, too. I'm thinking that could just happen again.
SDF 2v1 finds the double knock. Takes the Lance ult, still pushed his way back, roots Rat Squid, and he's just waiting for one of his boys to try and bail him out. Knockback's there, but not in time. SK PEso in the sky. Goes a little too far, expecting him to still keep walking, and
He's
instead
sheepdogging him.
Rat Squid just jumps on the horse, gallops away, but Sun Prod is here. Feather Step is good, waiting for the jump off, needs an ult. XDO1 delivers it. And that'll be the bailout that Rat Squid needed.
That's tough, man. If Sun was allowed to go for the double tap into Feather Step, that goes much, much better, but has to play fast. And in sending a few members back to base and a rotation from Grave, confirms the Pyromancer for Team Khastik. SDF bought a lot of time on his runaway, but not enough, it would seem. And so, Team Khastik find themselves a solid win in the macro play, putting this game essentially to dead even.
I'm sitting here wondering how XDO1 got to that fight in enemy jungle faster than Mando did on his own side of the map. It's just been slow rotation from the Baba Yaga to some of these team fights. Not that it would have changed too much. Maybe he could have gotten a kill on Rat Squid had he been there a little bit faster. For now, both teams just trying to poke and prod to see if they can get advantage for this next objective. Primal Fury is up. Pyromancer down for the time being. We see Sun Prod wants to get aggressive, impaled against the wall, loses beads, but does manage to take that Lancelot ultimate away. Rat Squid now getting about 50-50 on playing those ultimates defensively and offensively.
Do you think Mando knows about the prophetic Baba change?
But he still gets it, but it just takes a lot longer.
That's what I'm saying. It's like super slow.
Don't know. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he thinks it's still valuable. Sun Prod ults without needing the knockup just to get the extra damage.
Oh, I didn't.
Couple autos there. Aegis expended from Rat Squid, fighter on the beacon. XD charges up the ult, cancels it out. This fight for the beacon's going to delay just a little bit longer. Axe Toss hits Rundus, doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It's a very physically tanky Osiris. Final Judgment slams through two. Malachi fine for the time being. Beacon finally capped off for SK PEso's squad. No back away. It's been split push from Grave on the left side.
Yeah, Grave decides not to make that rotation, so Team Khastik just trying to poke in some damage, not exactly actually contest the Stygian Beacon. If they do enough damage, they'd be allowed to look towards this Primal Fury. They've got Oracle Vision for themselves, so Team Khastik would be able to go ahead and pull it if they so choose. Instead, it's the fight they're looking for. Sun Prod gonna have to go all the way back to base.
He'll retreat. And that opens the door for Primal Fury now for Team Khastik. Final Judgment not on the table just yet. Still a few more seconds before XD gets that ultimate back. So it'll just be up to the zoning for SK, PEso, and SDF. Let's make sure that Fury doesn't go down, doesn't get looked at just yet. And that presence was just enough to keep Team Khastik away. As XDO1 goes to her Staff of Mirren. We have seen a different third item every single game now from this mid laner. It's been the same double flat pen, this time changing out the Do More
Both mid laners.
for the Divine Ruin. But now going for Staff of Mirren as opposed to was game 1 Rada Tahuti, game 2 Charon's Coin.
I mean, it's a lot of damage. I mean, Mirrodin is just a classic for Thoth as well. He started off these fights with phenomenal ultimates every single time, so I'm not going to hate on it whatsoever. Stacking up some of that CDR pretty early on too, so XD has been pumping damage. 3rd overall on the damage chart. Sun Prodigy and Super Death Fang, the only ones topping them up. But let's do some quick math. Roughly 2 times the damage, nearly 3 times the damage of Mando on the other side. I want to see some like aggressive home sweet homes or something, because this Baba Yaga has just not been connecting a whole lot.
Rat Squid pushed back under Tier 1 tower. That Tier 1 standing up on just a couple of bricks left before it gets knocked over. Any single auto attack from Drunk Diplomat should take that one away.
I'm seeing triple, maybe quadruple lifesteal, depending on how you want to ride it out here for Rat Squid. He can go for Jotun's V, get a little bit more lifesteal there. We got Soul Eater serrated. What is this, Bloodforge next slot? Surely, like...
Just include Bubba's in there, why not?
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, get
Bubba's
hammer.
hammer.
I mean, Spear heals you a little bit too, depending on what you kill.
Yeah. Man. I mean, at least they got some anti-heal with Mando. Though that would involve getting a bit of that damage online. Ultimate from Rat Squid under what would have been a tower. Sunprod gets the damage that he needs, so a pick on a Rat Squid. SK PEso crashed into the party, but that's to get away from XDO1. Turns around, stuns, and misses the knock because the beads are on point. But the final judgment misses. SK PEso still goes down. And who has but Rundus to now try and crash the party right into the pack line on the carries. Drunk Diplomat, dangerous waters for him, goes down. Double kill for Grave. Make that a triple for the Hunter of Team Khastik. Finds the pick on both Mando and Drunk Diplomat, and they could maybe go for more. SDF got some bailout though with Sun Prod. Right back in. Blink is good. Tries to go for the damage dealer, but misses, and it's the tank instead. Now Sun Prod's got to jump over the wall back to safety. 3-for-1 trade in favor of Team Khastik.
I mean, they're low, Team Caustic. Grave half HP, half on XD as well. Maybe SDF can go for a defense here. It's not going to be easy to close that gap with Frostbound slowing him down. So instead, it's going to be a walk away. A slow Charlie Brown walk away.
Miserable to walk from.
Yeah, I mean, it's still happening.
Fury does go to Team Khastik. Grave start off this game 0-2-0. Picks up a triple in that last little fight. And all that space afforded to him just by the presence of Rundus alone, really. I mean, XDO1 comes around the corner, clotheslines SK PEso with a shot just to really open up the door for that team fight. And then Grave just stands his ground, plants his feet, and throws auto after auto, just collapsing in on Team SK PEso. Now, was 3,000 gold up for Team SK PEso for a good portion of this game. Has slowly been turning its way back over to the opposite side here for Team Khastik.
Obshard pickup for Mando means that maybe there's a little bit of damage on the front line now of Team Khastik. Front line has been just doing whatever they want. Rundus feels like he's unkillable. Malachi unkillable as well. And that just can't be the case if you want to win out on some of these engagements. Sun Prodigy's been doing a whole lot. He's connecting with priority targets, but so often he's being met with every single relic in the game. It seems like no one else can quite make use. If Sun Prodigy isn't doing it, SDF is doing it, but they're never quite doing it at the same time. Maybe. This could just be an easy feat. Yeah, they got it. Like, that's going down.
Yeah, Sun Prod pops the ultimate. That one's guaranteed. No one
SDF
there
can
in
stop
time.
fire.
Fire Giant's going to get started. It's
three.
3 of them there.
SDF could definitely stop fire.
One in mid, one in left. Rundus is going to stop the 2 from being able to go back to base, but SDF should be able to stop the 3 from doing fire. Hits 1 with ult. It's Rat Squid, and now with 1 in the middle of the pit along with him. SK PEso helps to stop this one, but Fire Giant has not been canceled yet. King Khastik gets the Fire Giant. Can they get out of the fight? Rat Squid limping away, half health in mid. Mando trying to chase out, but Team Khastik, they just get the Fire Giant.
Yeah, SK PEso and the boys didn't quite confirm that the objective had been reset. XD holding on to that ultimate. Great confirmation there. Maybe knock down that tier 1 tower. That'll go well for you. But now it's reset and play defense. Will that Fire Giant boost Team Khastik even further? And it's not easy to play defense against the Thoth. The damage output from him, especially in these 5-on-5s, is going to be really difficult to deal with. Keep your eyes on Drunk Diplomat. Few Hail of Arrows from downtown, especially once he upgrades that Bluestone, and should have now. Yep, has it upgraded. One Hail of Arrow is going to do 30% of XD. Do it twice, XD's not allowed to take the fight. Connect a combo, he's dead. So I'll be really watching this Uhl. He's going to be fishing for a lot of damage there. And it's not as if XD is elected to pick up an alternate timeline. Instead, it's Pendulum of the Ages, so more CDR, more power, but no second lease on life. Any damage that hits him is going to stick.
Now Team SK PEso fighting into a full Fire Giant squad of Team Khastik. A 3-2 split on the map. The Lancelot now, I thought for a moment maybe going over to join the left side siege, but create this awkward collapse around here in the mid lane. Rundus walking at Sun Prod. Rundus now seeing just how much damage the enemy carries can start doing. Before this Titan's Bane and Bluestone, Drunk Diplomat's maybe tickling Rundus at most. Now starting to get that chunk damage in there. Laps onto Grave. SDF does get a big shield, but XD gets an even better final judgment. Sun Prodigy out of the fight. SDF forced back to try and defend. Mando goes up to the home sweet home. This is the damage that he needs to start getting online, but he's hitting the tanks. It's not doing a whole lot. Maybe if he can get onto one of these carries, be a little bit better for them. SK PEso charged up that ultimate, just crashed right back down in place. Drunk Diplomat steps up. Defense strong for Team SK PEso.
There's a lot of damage they've played with. Even Mando there saw a few of his shots connect with Rat Squid, doing significant damage, about 10-15%, just in the initial burst of each tick of Home Sweet Home. So that ability going to find a lot of value going forward. Mando also upgrades that Prophetic Cloak, so a lot tankier now too. Should be in a decent enough position where he can get aggressive. Has been playing very far back though in these team fights. I mean, compare his positioning in that last team fight to even his own ally, Drunk Diplomat, who is essentially leading the charge, poking from max range. You have to look a good deal behind him to find Mando. So Baba Yaga needs to start connecting with some of these priority targets. It's not going to be easy for him to hit Grave. You really don't ever expect Mando to hit XD, but Rat Squid definitely takes a lot of damage, and Rundus definitely takes a lot of damage from this Baba Yaga. So there are options in the front line that Mando could really start sinking some DPS into.
Well, Fire Giant. About another 30 seconds to a minute before this one fades off. We'll see a reset around the objective, with no Phoenix taken out. Means that Team SK PEso are able to just walk up and go for an actual full defense this time, not worry about any split push shenanigans of maybe losing a Titan to fire minions. The last fire wave actually spawning in for Team SK PEso on the left side. Remember, that Phoenix did go down a little while ago, but it's not going to matter now for Team Khastik. They'll go ahead and grab Pyromancer, Runic Bomb in pocket from Malachi. And thinking about this Terra pick, it's actually really sick this patch now. With all the HP thresholds going down a lot, that heal max rank gets so much value. It's 400 health you heal from standing in the entire duration, which in a team fight, you're probably not going to get that. But if you're sitting back for a siege, I mean, that is 25% of a carry's HP essentially just getting healed back.
Yeah, a lot of sustain plus damage mitigations means that even with HP going lower, mitigations and how they work, you're still going to find a lot of value from Earthen Fury. So Terra in a very good spot, not even taking into account like how strong her early game is, all that stuff. I'm a massive Terra fan. So far Malachi doing a good job representing the Terra fan club. On the other hand though, haven't been able to see too many initiations from SK PEso in a good long while. 4-level deficit out of that support role. That's what happens. PEso tries to step up and throw a ward out, gets clipped twice by XD and loses around 30% of his HP.
Beacon cap for Rat Squid and Team Khastik. 1 minute till enhanced Fire Giant. He's we likely won't see the actual kill of the objective for at least another minute, or until we can start seeing a couple picks come through. Team SK PEso playing very defensively right now. We haven't seen too many major Horus ultimates from SK. We've seen some to try and start a fight, a couple of them to disengage, but most of them have either been off the mark, immediate up, down. Haven't really seen a whole lot of value from that ult just yet. Outside of the ultimate, Horus been doing pretty well. Decent sustain for the team. Great setup in the early game. Haven't really seen that follow-up just yet from him at this stage of the game.
And this is the stage where you'd expect the Horus to start falling off a bit, and the torch, the proverbial torch of initiation, is passed on to SDF, who's done a good job of getting into that backline, but because he's having to do so much of it on his own, has really struggled to commit really good amounts of damage. I've seen him stop XD's ultimate charge a few times. He's caught Grave on initiation, even slowed down Rat Squid, but the damage output hasn't quite been there. I'd like to see Sun Prodigy start splitting off from this fight a little bit more. Maybe look for that mid wave, push it forward, try and force a 1v1 up against Rat Squid. It won't be the easiest thing on the planet. You have to hope that you've got the full burst off an initial rotation of Kid, because Rat Squid's going to resustain very quickly with this. We'll call it a 5-piece resustain build there. Jotun's Vigor finished, Bumba Spear also finished. But I just gotta think Sun Prodigy has a significant advantage in that 1v1, and even just forcing the 1v1 has got to be more valuable to his team than sticking around in the actual fight itself. This Awilish is not exactly suited to jump into an actual 5-on-5.
Good damage on a Malachi off a combo start from SK PEso, but it is a Terra. Sit back, drop 400 health for your team. Another combo from SK, but it hits a tank.
Good ult.
It's a triple ult in from Rundus, though XTO1 misses the final judgment. Everybody on SK PEso's team backing up for the time. They can resustain with the Horus. It'll take a little bit longer than something like with the Terra, but at the very least now for SK PEso's squad, taking 2 big ultimates off the map, but SK PEso's got to be careful. He's not very healthy himself. Teleport in from SDF, right back into the fray. SK PEso can't get back to safety. Grave gets the kill there. And the ult from Sun Prodigy not going to get too much either. 2 ults down from Team SK PEso, and XD takes down SDF. Rundus gets the pick on a Sun Prod, and Grave picks up the double. About to be a triple. Mando low. Aegis is the final judgment, but goes down for a triple kill for Grave. He kicks off his game with a triple, and now will end the game on the same. Team Khastik are going to LAN.
Not a single member able to stop XD in that backline from free casting the entire time. We saw 2 separate full team fight resets where Team SK PEso is like, okay, we'll resustain with Horus. And then PEso walks up and says, oh, guys, sorry, got clipped by Thoth just a few too many times. Dropped down to 60%, finally decides to full and initiate, and immediately dies for it. I think the disconnect there is the allocation of team members for Team SK PEso. Had they elected to put Sun Prodigy in mid on that Fire Giant dance instead of putting SDF in mid, they would maintain their initiator in the team fight and have someone that can actually win the 1v1 up against the Lancelot. But instead, it really slowed things down. They were 4-stacked the entire time, and if everybody's stacked on top of each other, it's really easy for Thoth to start shooting some shots. You need someone hovering the sides of these team fights, making the Thoth think, well, am I allowed to step up this far? Am I allowed to dash in aggressively? He didn't have to think about it. He just did, and he was right. He was allowed to do whatever he wants because everyone was in front of him at all times.
And you know that players are grouped up too much when an Osiris of all gods can ult and hit 3 people. That at that point just shows that you are way too close together and definitely to spread out. And I think you're right to say that Sun Prod just kind of sticking too close to the team during a lot of these fights in the late game. Early, going in, find a pick. I'm going to just go hunt a Rat Squid throughout the early game was kind of the call for Sun Prodigy. But towards the end of the game, it just felt like he was kind of lost figuring out what he wanted to do. Do I want to try and go find a pick onto a carry? Do I want to stick with the team and try and get an impactful pull with an ultimate? Didn't see a whole lot of it at all once we came to the late game. And then again with SK PEso, these ultimates, not getting a whole lot of value towards the late stage of the game. The combos are great until your team is no longer there with you to form the combos and just couldn't get that dash off through the wall at the end. Grave able to find that nice little pick to really start this one off, and then catapulted Team Khastik through that final team fight, a triple kill to end the game for Grave, 6-2-2 on the On Her. And Team Khastik, as mentioned, they'll be your first team guaranteed to go to the LAN.
Yeah, do confirm themselves a LAN position and a position in the grand finals tomorrow. So be excited to watch that one. SK PEso not out of it just yet. If you've been following their entire journey throughout the event, you're thinking, man, I really like those guys. You know, Sun Prodigy, 15-year-old, dominating out of the jungle. I want to watch Drunk Diplomats because, you know, I love alliteration. Don't worry. They'll have a chance to participate in the LAN still in the third place. What are we calling it? The bronze match? Bronze match.
Yeah, the bronze match will be tomorrow, second set of the day. But the implications with the bronze match is it's also elimination because 4 teams this weekend for NA, but only 3 get to go to the LAN because we already have 1 spot guaranteed by iDavy on the EMEA side of things. So we'll have to see if SK PEso can get their bounce back. And talk about the teams they got to face off for what would be the bronze match. Either Rudy, who was one of the most dominant teams that came out in week number 1 of the qualifying stage, had a flawless, I believe, victory all the way through the group stage of play, or Captain Twig, who was the opponent for SK PEso, also went a 3-game distance in their final matchup against each other. It was a close battle there. And then you already saw what we got out of Team Khastik today. This is not an easy one to qualify for any of these teams out here, Mifflin.
Well, easy for Team Khastik
now.
Now
They're already there.
Done it, yeah.
But if you walked in this morning, starting the day, not easy for any of them to get that guarantee.
And I think we said that, too.
Probably so.
I'm always saying stuff like that. I love broad, sweeping statements that can be, you know, you can't really trace it back. You can't fact check me. That was hard. It wasn't easy.
You can kind of sit on the fence a little bit and see which way it kind of leans.
Man, both these teams are really good. It can go any way.
Well, for this one, it went the way of Team Khastik, 2-1 over Team SK PEso. So Khastik, again, guarantees their spot at LAN, gets their grand finals position tomorrow, waiting the winner of our second set of the day. And as mentioned, that one will be Team Rudy versus Team Captain Twig to see who will go there. Rudy was the number 1 seed out of Group B, Captain Twig the number 2 seed out of Group A. So we'll see if we can get another upset there from seeding-wise at the very least.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'm keeping my eyes on Captain Twig. I love watching his perspective. And again, a lot of these guys, if you want to hear what the team comms sound like or, you know, what the general mentality of these teams are, a lot of these team captains are streaming live on Twitch right now. You can go ahead and take a peek at who they are: SK PEso, Khastik, Rudy, and Captain Twig. We won't see PEso or Khastik again until tomorrow, but both Rudy and Captain Twig, I believe, are streaming if you want to go ahead and, you know, hear some draft strategy or something like that.
And as mentioned, I'll give another shout. I did at the top of the day, but I'll just remind anytime that I am here on this at the very least. There are extra drops available if they are streaming. So if they're streaming their games right now, go watch them. Get some extra little bonus drops that come your way. Some favors, some viewer points, a nice little chest as well if you go and make sure you're watching that. That's over the course of the whole weekend.
You're going to guarantee me a chest? If I go to twitch.tv/Captain Twig, I get a chest?
And if you sit there and you watch through his stream... Watch through his stream tomorrow as well.
Right. Say less.
Get yourself some good stuff.
It's like I'm robbing
We're going to go ahead and take it to a quick break. When we come back, we've got our second semifinal of the day between Rudy and Captain Twig.